Okay, guys, so I'm going to turn off my camera in just a second so you guys can kind of focus on the slides and I can actually go through everything with you. So let me just go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, you can still hear me okay? All right, guys, so welcome to today's session, the special online training for artists. And what we're going to be covering today is how to get access to funding and grow your revenue streams so you can build your own platform and succeed as an independent artist. Now, is that something you guys are interested in? Let me know real quick. I'm definitely excited to be bringing you guys this. It's going to be a ton of gems dropped. I think some of this stuff is really going to have an impact on you guys as an artist, and hopefully you're going to walk away from this just feeling inspired and hopeful and just excited to take that next step, whatever that might be. You know, if it's just getting that initial funding you need to get off the ground, or if it's to grow your fan base, or if it's to literally explode your career as an artist on social media. Maybe you came into this not really knowing that much about marketing, about financing, funding, all these kind of things, which, you know, that's totally not your fault. That's where like 99.9% of artists are at. But my mission is to basically help you guys and to really help the independent artist movement succeed. And that's something that's been really dear to my heart for a long time. Cool. All right, so let's do this thing. So first of all, a quick introduction. I'm sure most of you guys know me. You probably came here from one of my emails or from my social media link. But essentially, my name is Anno Domini, aka Adrian Wood. And I've been making music for about 17 years now. I got started around 2003 or something like that. And actually, first I was an artist before I even became a producer. Back then, I loved sort of writing raps, and I would go on forums and do, you know, really embarrassing stuff like text battles with people, and I'd actually record raps as well. I'd try and, you know, make it as an artist. Back then, everybody wanted to be a hip hop star, right? But that's where I came from. And today, I actually live in Los Angeles. I'm originally from Munich in Germany. Yeah, with Drew Design says, I know you're from the SoundClick days. Yeah, for sure, man. Back in the early 2000s. But yeah, I was born and raised in Munich, Germany, and then I moved out to London, UK for a long time. And now I've been out here in Los Angeles. So it's been a crazy ride. And really, you know, I want to kind of embrace this journey together with you guys and kind of let you in a little bit on what I've learned over the years. And there's a ton of stuff that I think I can share that a lot of you guys are going to benefit from. So my background obviously is mainly known as a producer. I've worked with a ton of artists, people like Vinny Paz, 50 Cent, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Tech Nine, and many, many companies like the NBA, the UFC, NFL, MLB, Coca-Cola. And you can also hear my beats on a ton of different TV shows up and down television. Actually, if any of you guys watched that recent Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance, we have a couple of tracks that we produced and some beats and stuff like that on there. Actually, the NBA just used one of our beats for a highlight video of the '96 Bulls, one of my favorite basketball teams of all time. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. So you see, I've worked with a lot of artists on the entire spectrum. I've worked with big name artists, but really what inspires me and what motivates me the most is working with independent artists. Not the guys who've already made it, but the guys who actually have a journey to go on and a trajectory to go on. Because that's what really excites me, just getting those artists up and going and seeing their progress. And most importantly, you know, the life I've had in music has really afforded me some cool stuff. It's allowed me to move from this tiny village in the middle of nowhere in Germany to living out here in LA, to having the wedding of my dreams, to my actress wife out here in Malibu, to owning 5 businesses, having a bunch of houses, and all this kind of fun stuff. And that's all been afforded to me through music, so I'm really grateful for that. But the one thing I think I'm the most proud of is really the community that I've built over the years. You guys all know Anno Domini Nation, right? It's our music production company, but much more than that, it's actually a community of artists. We have over 300,000 artists through our email list, through our social pages, YouTube channel, and stuff like that. And a special shout out, of course, to our inner circle, who are kind of like the closest knit community of artists that I personally mentor and help out. Any of you guys inner circle members, by the way? Give me a quick shout out in the comments if anyone is in the inner circle. Tony says, I am. Cool, cool, cool. Love it. Very nice. Chanel says, not yet. You know, the funny thing is, though, all right, excuse the super embarrassing photo over here. This is like a teenage AD over here, okay? This is me when I was like 18, 19 or something like that. And the funny thing is, like, long before I even became a producer, I was actually an artist. I was a musician, like most of you guys. And I was trying to make it as a rapper. I used to rap in German, and then I tried to do it in English. And back then I had a terrible accent, so it was just pretty terrible. But I used to really struggle to sell my music as an artist. I feel like it was really hard back then trying to break through as an artist. And this is like in the early 2000s, before all of these platforms and before literally every Tom, Dick, and Harry and their grandma was a rapper, right? Through the internet, just recording raps, trying to make it. So for me, it was already hard back then trying to break through. And I can imagine that for some of you guys, it must be super frustrating now that you're competing with so many artists, like literally millions of artists, all trying to do the exact same thing, or trying to get, on the Spotify playlist, trying to get on the top of the YouTube search results, all that kind of stuff, right? It's hard. It really is. I'm guessing at least some of you guys can relate to this, right? Let me know if you can relate to this. It's like your music is there. Your music is good. You have a message and you feel like you're ready to have an audience. But the problem is nobody's listening. Nobody's finding your music, and you're not making any kind of income from it. So you're just spending all this money on yourself, on your career, but for some reason it's just not paying back yet, right? You don't really have that platform yet. But the good news is that that's not your fault, right? That's definitely nothing to do with you. It's not a reflection of your music. It's not a reflection of your character. The problem is that 99% of artists, and I'm sure many of you guys too, just don't really understand how to properly brand themselves, how to properly market themselves. And they don't know where to get the resources from that they actually need to really kickstart their career. Am I right? Charles says he can relate. By the way, one more quick message, guys. In the chat box, remember to select the little drop-down field and go to all panelists and attendees so that everybody can see your messages, okay? Anyways, Scarlett says, hell yeah. Bill Grubb says, smart man. There we go. And the crazy thing is, like, right now in this moment in time, with all the craziness that's happening with COVID-19 and whatnot, we're really living in unprecedented times, right? And I'm sure a lot of you guys are questioning, like, how, especially in this environment, am I supposed to make it as an artist? Or how can maybe some of you guys have lost your jobs. Maybe you want to quit your day jobs, right? So maybe you're thinking, like, how can I actually make it as an artist in these crazy times to support myself? But we have to understand that even though we're living in unprecedented times, these exact unprecedented times are actually bringing with them unprecedented opportunities too. Literally never before in history have there been this many people actively searching for music, streaming music, looking at videos, surfing the web, just looking for somebody to entertain them, looking for somebody to connect with, looking for somebody's story to resonate with. So actually, this is a really exciting time to be an artist and a musician. I mean, if you want to believe the mainstream media, everyone's kind of painting this doomsday scenario. I was just browsing today through Google, and some of these headlines caught my eye. Coronavirus is going to kill the music industry. Maybe it needed to die. That's from Esquire. Pretty dramatic, right? Or the Music Network says, is coronavirus really going to collapse the live music industry? And Rolling Stone says, coronavirus is wreaking havoc on the music industry. So all of this like craziness that we're being surrounded with, and everyone's telling us like, hey, you're never going to make it as an artist, especially now, like give up. But then if you look on the other side of the coin, like how does this make sense? Because look at these statistics, okay? Internet traffic reaching unprecedented levels during the pandemic. Internet usage skyrocketing during coronavirus. Social networks are surging and changing. Spotify subscribers are through the roof. There's literally a huge surge of users and eyeballs and music fans everywhere. So that doesn't make any sense to me, right? This whole doomsday scenario that's being painted by some of these outlets. So, I mean, this article resonates with me a little more, okay? This is what I believe in too. Screw you, coronavirus. At least music streaming business is booming, okay? So that's what we want to focus on, the silver linings, the fun stuff, the good stuff. And that's what we can really double down on and actually take advantage of. So what I'm trying to say, guys, is now is the time to go all in. Now is not the time to just sit at home and binge watch Netflix. Now is not the time to give up on your artist career. It's actually the time to double down, okay? It's time to go all in. And that's really what I want you guys to believe. That's what I believe. That's what other successful artists who are really doing well right now are believing. So I need you guys to understand and believe that too. With Beauty Design says no Vaseline. Love it. Edward says strong, strong, strong. Love it. Cool, cool, cool. So that being said, guys, what I want to do today is share 3 secrets with you, okay? You guys, you're basically my close-knit group of artists right now. You're basically all in this like inner circle that I'm trying to build, and really I want to share these with you guys because I know obviously attending this webinar, you are action takers and you're ready to go all in, which I appreciate immensely. So that being said, this is the secret that I want to share with you guys. First of all, I'm going to be talking about the vast pool of grant money, free loan programs, and early payout schemes available to artists. The second secret that I'm going to be divulging is how to diversify and grow your revenue through digital sales, licensing, royalties, and other little known income sources. And then finally, the third one that we're going to be talking about is the exact strategy independent artists are using right now to build their own platform, multiply their fan base, and crush the major labels. You guys interested in that? Let me know which of these secrets are you most excited about, 1, 2, or 3. I'm just curious real quick. I know some of you guys came here for lots of different reasons. We got some 1s, we got some 2s, we got, Preston says all of them, Jonathan says all of them. Love it. Okay, fantastic. So basically, yeah, it's a nice mix of things, so I love to see that. But guess what? We're going to cover all of them, so you don't have to pick favorites. All right. Let's get into it. Secret number 1, guys, the vast pool of grant money, free loan programs, and early payout schemes available to artists. And really what we're talking about when I cover this kind of stuff is addressing your immediate needs. So I don't want you to think that you're dependent on other people's money, or as an artist, you necessarily need funding to get off the ground. But I understand that some of you guys obviously have immediate pressing needs. You know, people have lost their jobs. Maybe your stimulus check hasn't come in. Maybe you have kids, you have a family to feed and all that stuff. So I really just want to make sure that we're addressing the immediate needs. So again, you don't have to give up being an artist and you can still pursue your passions. So that's what we're talking about when we discover all this kind of grant and funding. Now, first of all, before we get into external grants and funding, I don't know if all of you guys are necessarily aware of this, but if you're based in the US, and I think most of you guys are, then the government should have already sent you a stimulus check, which usually is going to be somewhere around the margin of $1,200 per taxpayer. So if you're filing jointly, if you're married, you get $2,400, and you also get an additional $500 per child. Now, if you haven't got your stimulus check yet, I see that Alan says he didn't get his yet. Then first of all, I really recommend that you, if your address has changed for whatever reason, that you submit a form 8822 to the IRS. So you can feel free to write this down. And what this is a change of address form. So if you moved for whatever reason, that might be the delay. But if you fill out this form, then they're going to know exactly where to mail your check. Also, if you haven't already, I suggest setting up your tax refunds as digital deposits. Direct transfer is what I'm trying to say. Because that way it's going to go straight into your bank account. That's exactly what happened with me too, by the way. I got a stimulus check just like everyone else, and it went straight to my bank account, whereas other people are just waiting for the tax man to send it, and obviously there's huge delays with mail and stuff like that right now. So make sure you have direct deposit set up. One thing that a lot of people seem to be curious about is like, hey, I had a kid that was born this year or last year, right? Anybody have a kid that was born recently? For me, for example, my baby boy, he's 9 months today, he was born last year. So I didn't get the $500 per child. And I did some research on this, and it turns out that actually that's going to be credited to us in the shape of a future tax refund. So we're not actually going to get that this tax year, which obviously sucks because now is the time a lot of people need this, but that's what it is. Oh, Scarlett says, congrats, thank you, appreciate that. Wow, Alistair says he has 8 kids. Oh my gosh. Cameron, congratulations. His daughter was born in April. That's awesome. Congratulations, man. Yeah, so just wanted to cover that for you guys real quick. And don't feel like this stimulus check was like a one-time thing. I know a lot of people are like, well, that's the drop in the ocean, right? That's not really going to help. There is actually proposals right now on the floor, and they're thinking about potentially making additional stimulus checks anywhere in the region from about $1,000 to $2,000 per month available to everyone. And that's something that's probably going to be rolled out fairly soon. So there's a lot of different proposals happening right now, but that's where we're at right now. So there is more money coming. We just don't know exactly when or how much that's going to be. And by the way, I believe if you're in Canada, I believe if you're over in Europe, in several countries, they have similar programs too. So I would research that, especially with your local labor department. You can go on their website and look into that. Another thing that's available to everyone in the US is called the EIDL, the Idle Loan Advance. And this is especially useful for you guys if you have a business, but actually it's been expanded to also include sole proprietors and self-employed, and also independent contractors. So as artists, if you file your taxes and you pay taxes on your income, then you're self-employed. You have self-employment income, right? And especially if you have a business like an LLC for your, I don't know, your studio or yourself as an artist, then this is a very straightforward process. But the most important thing is that basically everyone who gets self-employment income can get this idle loan advance. And it's something that you apply for through the SBA, which is the Small Business Administration. They have a website online. I think it's actually down here in the slides if you can see that bottom left corner. So feel free to screenshot that. And you can actually get up to a $10,000 advance, or in other words, $1,000 per employee. So in other words, if you're self-employed and it's only you, then you would get $1,000. And this is fully forgivable, meaning you do not have to pay it back, which is obviously very nice. So there's no reason not to get this, the idle. I think at the moment what's going on with the idle is that some of the money has been dried up, so they're actually prioritizing, I want to say like farmers and stuff like that, and farming and animal produce and stuff like that. But definitely keep an eye out on the idle loan advance, because this is constantly changing and they're constantly refueling this advance program too. Another thing that you can look into is the Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP. And this is for all of you guys, actually. It's also for self-employed people, and it's basically a paycheck program where if you were paying payroll costs, even if you're paying yourself, so even if you're paying yourself a monthly salary, let's say you pay yourself $1,000 out of a company account or something like that, then you're still able to apply for the PPP program. And I mean, essentially, you can apply for up to 10 million bucks, but I'm sure none of you guys have a multi-billion-dollar enterprise or something like that. But just throwing it out there, you can get up to 10 million bucks. And again, it's fully forgivable as long as you get that money and you actually spend it on payroll. So you can spend it on paying yourself, or you can spend it on paying employees. Say, for example, if you have a studio and you have a studio technician or something that you pay, then that would be considered payroll costs. And it's fully forgivable as long as you spend at least 75% of the loan on payroll. And then the rest of it you can spend on even stuff like mortgage interest and rent and utilities. So again, if you have like a studio or something that you rent, then that would be something you can offset against that. And again, it would be fully forgivable. Now, for the PPP program, I actually recommend not going through the big banks because they're completely backed up at the moment, but go through smaller fintech lenders, people like Square, Cabbage, Bluevine, or PayPal. Their approval process is super quick, and they're actually still taking people right now. So a lot of those big banks are, like Chase, for example, are slammed, so they're not even taking applications. And then finally, I just want to leave you with the idea of checking out some kind of state programs. So every state has their own small business and lending program. So if you go on, for example, the California Institute of Labor, or what's it called, the Department of Labor or something like that, and you can literally look up what loans and grants there is available to you. And in every state, that's going to be slightly different. Of course, if you're abroad, you would look into the Labor Department in your respective country. And I'm sure that pretty much every country has some kind of a program available to its citizens and to its businesses too. And again, as self-employed or as sole proprietors, you can be considered a business too, especially if you're paying yourself a salary. So moving on, for some of you guys, unemployment might be something that is relevant too. And of course, every country and state has its own rules, exactly how much you're compensated, or when you're compensated, how you're compensated. But definitely research that. There are actually emergency provisions in place right now too, which means that, again, sort of sole proprietors and independent contractors have actually been included. So even if you're a gig worker, if you, for example, drive for Uber or something like that, then you are now eligible for unemployment in the United States. So that's good to know. There's also some additional programs available. There's disaster assistance. So, if you don't have enough money for foods, you could look up your local 211 and actually get food stamps or something that's called the SNAP program, where they just basically give you additional supplemental nutrition assistance program. And that's always nice to know, especially if you have a family of 8 to feed or something like that. So if you're struggling to put food on the table, then definitely look into that. Another nice thing to know is that the CARES Act, which is kind of the disaster act that's been put into place by the US government, it forbids evictions for 120 days. That's probably going to be extended, to be fair. And there's also non-shut-off orders for things like utilities, so you can't have your water turned off, you can't have your electricity turned off, and things like that. So that's always nice to know. In terms of payment relief as well, maybe some of you guys are homeowners, maybe you have a mortgage to pay, and almost every mortgage lender right now is offering forbearance, which basically means that you don't have to pay your mortgage this month, but then it's going to get rolled over into next month, or possibly added to the end of your loan period. So after 30 years or whatever that might be. You can also actually contact directly your utility companies. You can reach out to car payments, loans, car payments. All of them are willing to work with you. You just need to get on the phone. Let's just say like, hey, I need an extra 2 or 3 months to pay for my car payment or whatever it might be. And then chances are they're going to be very open to that. And you can also renegotiate your rent. Hit up your landlord. Just say like, hey, look, times are rough. I'm sure you'd rather me pay $500 less than nothing at all, and you have to evict me. So let's come to some kind of an arrangement. The same goes for any kind of contract you have with like a phone company, with internet providers. You can literally negotiate with them. A lot of people don't understand that, but you can literally get on a phone with them, especially if you've gone sort of beyond a year, which is usually like a renegotiation period, or sometimes they even raise your prices. But if you just get on the phone with them, you can literally reduce your bill. So that's, regardless of all the craziness of coronavirus, that's something that everybody should be doing regularly anyway. All right, guys, so that's all the government stuff, like the more formal stuff. So let's talk about grants now, grants available to artists. And the nice thing about grants is that, first of all, they're available immediately, so you can get them, within a couple of days usually. They do not have to be paid back. So they're not loans, they're grants. They're literally money that organizations or individuals are giving to you as musicians. They're mostly location dependent. So a lot of these grants that I'm going to be sharing with you guys depend on what country you're in, first of all, and often also what state you're in. So it could be that there's a grant specifically for Atlanta artists, another one could be for anyone in California, and another one could be for anyone in Germany, okay? And some of them do require membership of an organization. So if you're, for example, a PRO member, or you're in some kind of like a musicians fraternity or organization, then chances are they'll have a fund specifically for its members. So this is kind of where you realize that it actually pays to be a member of various societies. I know somebody mentioned at the start, one thing that they really struggle with is networking. Like, one of the best ways to network is actually to join a musician society. And that includes performance rights organizations, but it also includes, sort of more friendly, I want to say, like networking societies. So let's talk about some of these, and I don't want to go through every single one of them in detail, but I just, feel free to screenshot this. But essentially, these are some of the main ones that I found doing a preliminary search. And this is by no means an exhaustive list, but definitely look into some of these. So for example, in the US, no matter where you are, these are location independent. You can get access to the Artist Relief Project, the Arts Leaders of Color Fund, ConvertKit Fund, anywhere from $200 to even a couple of $1,000. And most of these are actually very simple to apply to. You literally just go on their website, fill out a form, provide some information. Sometimes they want, they want to see some financial details, and that's pretty much it. Now, obviously, only apply for money if you need it. All of these funds are limited, right? So don't apply for every single one of these if actually you're doing fine. But that being said, there's a lot of these available. There's even some which are very flexible. For example, the Facebook Small Business Grant, which is going to be rolling out pretty soon. Also the Sweet Relief Fund, where essentially you just tell them how much money you need, and then they see whether you really do need it, and then they pay that out to you. Now, there's a ton of regional ones too. These are a couple that you can look into. I just kind of picked the biggest music states, I guess. So in California, for example, you have the COVID-19 Emergency Health Grant. You have the Music Fund Los Angeles. Also, Mayor Garcetti actually rolled out an economic relief package to small businesses specifically in California that you can apply to, as well as the EIDL, so the government-run programs. For New York, you have For example, the Musicians Assistance Program, we get the NYC Low Income Artist Relief Fund, Lost My Gig NYC. For anyone that had live shows booked and that got canceled, you can actually get compensated for that from some of these funds. I see Divine says, are these funds available to minors? I believe so, yeah. I don't think there's any restriction as long as you can prove that you are a working musician and you've been making money as a musician, or at least you've been somewhat actively involved in the arts. And I think for every fund, it varies a little bit what exactly they need. In Texas, we get the Health Alliance for Austin musicians, I Lost My Gig Austin. Georgia, we get the Gary Vereen Emergency Relief Fund, and for example, the Atlanta Artist Relief Fund. So if you guys want an exhaustive list of some of these, actually Grammy.com has a pretty cool list, and I put the link down there. Again, feel free to screenshot that. For everyone watching in international, up in Canada, guys, you have a pretty exhaustive list of funding available to you guys. For example, the AFC, we got the Unison Factor.ca Behind the Scenes Basic Needs Grant. And for my peeps in the UK, I know I saw some people from Liverpool, right? Can't remember who that was. But if you're a member of the PRS, you have access to the PRS Emergency Relief Fund. There's also Help Musicians UK. There's the Royal Society of Musicians and the Musicians Union. And I think those last two you do need to be a member of. So I don't know if that's something you can literally just do on the fly. But again, it really pays to be a member of some of these societies over the time. In my home country, in Germany, GEMA actually put together a Corona Aid Fund. So look into that one. I think that's the biggest one in Germany. Lo Gomez says Netherlands. I'm not really sure about Netherlands, but I'm sure whatever the PRO is there, or whatever your local arts and culture department is, just research if they're doing some kind of a COVID-19 fund. And guys, but by the way, it's pretty easy to research this stuff. Literally just type into Google like Netherlands COVID-19 musician fund or something like that. In France, we got the Pays de la Loire program, which has been rolled out with a grant to COVID-19 affected artists. We also have, for example, in Asia, we have the Hong Kong Arts Development and the Arts and Culture Funding in Singapore. And I'm pretty sure something like this exists in basically every country in the world. Now, when it comes to grants and funding, just a couple of tips for you guys, okay? First of all, a couple of do's, okay? Do research additional grants and funds. So by no means is this an exhaustive list of everything that's available out there, okay? But it's just a starting off point for you guys to look into applying some of these programs. So definitely research additional grants. Don't just look for big picture ones, but also like smaller local ones, for example, in your city or in your state, or whatever the case may be. There's probably some kind of a GoFundMe or some kind of a program at the very least being rolled out right now. Also look into local charities, collecting money for artists. Just be creative with your search, and do revisit websites regularly, because this kind of stuff is being constantly updated. And sometimes, you're going to go to one of these sites and it says that they're not taking any more applications or the fund has run out of money. So a good tip is to just, screenshot or, bookmark the site, go back there in a week or a couple of days, and also add your email to their newsletters, because they'll let you know once there's more funding available again. And do also apply for multiple grants. So don't just think like, hey, I need probably $500 to, complete this project or do whatever I need to do as an artist. So I'm just going to apply to this one grant. But what if you get denied for whatever reason, or what if they run out of money? So make sure that you're applying to several grants at the same time. I think that's the best way to play this. A couple of do nots, okay? Please do not apply for grants without reading all of the details. You'll just be wasting your time if you apply for like the Netherlands Artist Fund living in California, okay? Or maybe you're applying for like the Women's Musician Fund and you're a dude in Pennsylvania. That's not going to work, and you're just wasting your time filling out the questions and whatnot. Also, don't delay your applications. The faster you get these in, the better chance you have of actually securing funding, because obviously all these funds have limited resources, right? I mean, sure, they do get replenished from time to time, but the faster you actually apply and do this, like literally today or tomorrow, the better. And then finally, do not wait for only one grant at a time. Again, just apply for multiple places and see what actually works out for you. Now, let's talk about something else, okay? We talked about grants and fundings, but let's talk about advances. And actually, first of all, let me know how many of you guys are a member of a PRO. Give me a quick yes if you're a member of a PRO, like a BMI or ASCAP or GEMA. whatever the case may be. Chanel says yes. Preston says ASCAP. Bryson says BMI, CSAC. Okay. All right, cool. So a lot of you guys, right? A lot of you guys are getting paid royalties, at least to some extent, right? So one thing that actually almost every single PRO has is the ability to ask for an advance. And for some reason, almost no artist knows about this, but you can literally contact your PRO and you can say, hey, I would like an advance on my royalties. And then they will calculate how much they paid you out in royalties over the past, probably 12 months. Sometimes they'll even look as far back as like 3 years, take an average, and then give you an advance on the percentage of that. And then there'll probably be some kind of a small fee on top of that for administration. Sometimes they take a small percentage of your royalties, but it's more than worth it, especially if you need that money. And the nice thing is that you essentially, well, I guess not the nice thing, but your loan or your advance gets automatically paid back, so you don't have to worry about it, okay? Every time that there's a new quarterly distribution, for example, they'll just take the money out that you owe them, so you kind of just set it and forget it. So that's one way to instantly access funds if you are the kind of artist that does get regular royalty checks. One thing that might be a good idea for all of you guys who don't necessarily get a lot of royalties but do make money from streaming is checking out the Music Fund. And what's cool about the Music Fund is that they're giving you an advance on your streaming income. So if you make, I don't know, like a couple thousand bucks from Spotify or something like that, you can hit up the Music Fund and they'll give you an advance, some kind of a percentage of what you would normally get. And then again, in turn, they take some kind of a percentage to compensate them. But that's a really great way to get some money up front for you guys who make money from streaming. Justina says, what if you're from Africa? I don't know exactly if they cover Africa, but I'm sure there's some kind of a local musician program for you as well. So I would definitely research that. Look into your local culture and arts department, and I'm sure on their website you can find some information. Now, one other company that I really personally like a lot is called Sound Royalties. I think their website is soundroyalties.com. And they're having this program right now where basically it's 100% free, and they advance you up to 100% of your projected future annual royalties. And they're doing this right now, first of all, as like a sort of way to give back to the music community, but also as a way to grow their brand and their recognition. So it's pretty awesome. Essentially, they advance you your royalties, and you pay zero interest or any kind of fee, nothing like that. And the other awesome thing about Sound Royalties is that you can pay them back in increments each distribution period. So instead of getting an advance from your PRO where you pay back in full every distribution period until you've paid off your advance, basically you could just pay back, for example, 50% of every royalty check until you've covered your expenses, your initial upfront advance. So Sound Royalties, because it's 100% free, I feel like that's a no-brainer, right? Like, let's just get that money in our bank accounts right now. We don't know what we might need it for. Maybe it's to advance our career, or maybe it's just to cover our needs right now during this period. So Sound Royalties is definitely a cool one to check out. And then finally, for you guys who have maybe a little bit more royalty income coming in, royalty exchange might be a cool solution. They don't accept everyone. I think you need to have like a minimum of a couple thousand a year in royalties. So I don't know if that necessarily applies to many of you guys, but if it does, then you can hit them up and they will auction off your royalties for a lump sum payment up front. And it's pretty sweet. Say, for example, you make, I don't know, $5,000 a year or $3,000 a year from royalties. You can auction that off to individuals, and you're probably going to end up getting somewhere like 10 to 20 times that. So like from 3,000, you would maybe get 30,000 to 40,000 upfront for your royalties. And you can also set the expectation on whether basically the buyer is getting a lifetime of your royalties or just a set time period. And you can also just set the royalties for one particular song or one particular album or whatever it might be. So definitely an interesting one to look into as well. Now, speaking of, by the way, you guys remember I talked about the Music Fund, right? Where you get an advance on streaming income. Do you guys know who NK47 is? He won the Anno Domini Nation Song Contest 2 years or 3 years ago, I think it was. And he actually worked with these guys, and he had a really positive experience. So this is what he said. He basically said, I finally got enough money to make an album and promote it with several high-quality videos. We hit the Billboard charts. Without the Music Fund, I wouldn't have been able to achieve any of those goals. So you see, like, these guys are legitimately getting paid advances and actually using that money wisely to further their career. So this guy literally hit the Billboard charts with the advance that he got. So pretty cool, right? Timothy says he met NK47 in person. That's cool, man. Yeah, I actually met him a couple of times. Whenever he's out in California, he comes to say hello. All right. So now we talked about grants. We talked about advances. Now let's talk about early payouts. And what I'm talking about here is basically getting paid from your various distributors and various government agencies as fast as possible, because we want that money in our bank account, right? We don't want to delay anything. So first of all, of course, with your government tax agency, whatever that might be, for example, the IRS here in the US, I mentioned this right at the start, but just make sure you have an updated address on file with them, and make sure you have direct deposit set up so that you don't need to wait weeks for your tax refunds to get mailed out or your stimulus checks to get mailed out. You literally have those in your bank account right away. Also, with your PRO, the same thing is true as well. So make sure you have an updated address on file, and make sure you have direct deposit set up. Those checks, they can get lost in the mail. They can take weeks to arrive, especially right now. So you don't want that. With your digital distributors, I'm talking people like CD Baby, TuneCore, DistroKid, Audio Jungle, Bandcamp, Reverb Nation. I'm sure 90% of you guys are on at least one of those platforms, right? So what you want to do there is go to your payment settings and make sure that you have the lowest possible payment and time threshold set up as possible. I think by default, otherwise on, like, for example, CD Baby, it won't pay you any money until you've reached at least $100, but you can change that to be as low as like $10. So you actually get paid that money fast and instantly. There might even be something that accumulated in there already that you can pay yourself out manually, or that could be paid out to you faster once you change these settings. Also, the same holds true with your payment gateways. So if you take payments through PayPal or Stripe or stuff like that, just make sure that you have it set up to pay you daily, because by default, I think it just pays you weekly or bi-weekly or something like that. And also, again, with the lowest time threshold and the lowest dollar value possible, so you get that payout fast. And the cool thing is, if you guys do have a relationship with PayPal, or you do have a relationship with Stripe, or you've been using Shopify payments or anything like that, they actually have really cool programs called working capital loans. And what's really nice about working capital loans, where they basically give you a lump sum payment instantly, what's nice about those is that they don't check your credit, doesn't go on your credit report at all, and it doesn't affect any of your other finances. It's solely based on how much money have you been making through PayPal. So if you've been taking a lot of payments as a musician through PayPal or through Stripe, then they're going to base how much they loan to you on how much money has been coming through your account. So for me, I use these all the time to fund my operations, and it's a really great way to get access to fast money. And yeah, so the main ones are PayPal Working Capital, there's Stripe Capital, and there's also Shopify Capital. So look into those guys if you guys make money on any of those platforms. Cayenne says, how come I never see a royalty check from BMI? Well, Cayenne, first of all, BMI and all those PROs, they don't actively search for any usage of your music, okay? They don't actively search. So actually, you need to tell all the places that are playing your music to include your registration information in their cue sheets and all of that kind of stuff. Because otherwise, there's nothing being reported to the BMI, and that's why you're not getting paid any royalties. Does that make sense? All right. Let's talk about another funding source, and this is donations. So actually, SoundCloud and Spotify, they recently rolled out this new feature where you can add a little button to your profile and literally just ask your fans for support. So I tried this out. I added it to my Spotify. I added it to my SoundCloud just to see how it works. And it's very simple. It just adds a little tab on your profile, and people can literally just click on that and give you money. And you can even, don't be afraid to hit up your fans, especially your diehard fans, and just ask them to support you, even if it's just like $1 or $5 or something like that. Maybe even to create some exclusive music, or maybe to do a vocal shout out, something like that. There's also obviously some fundraising websites which are very popular, like GoFundMe or Kickstarter, very popular. I've had artists literally fund like $50,000 album projects just through something like GoFundMe. And it's all just about how you present your project. If you just make it like a charity case, then people aren't interested. But if you really tell a story, you tell a backstory, you record a great video, and you put effort into it, then people will get behind that, especially your fans. There's also sites like Patreon, which is a subscription-based system where people can literally give you weekly or monthly contributions in exchange for having access to, for example, exclusive music and stuff like that. So that's always a nice one. And finally, don't be afraid to literally, if you have an email list or you have a social platform, don't be afraid to ask fans for a contribution. Like, a lot of your fans want new music from you, they need new music from you, so they're fine to support your craft. I don't think anybody at this point should be embarrassed to ask their fans to purchase their music or contribute something. So essentially, what I'm trying to say, guys, is that at this point in time, there's literally a lot of funding available to artists. There's so many different ways that you can actually get access to money if you need it. There's obviously grant money, there's obviously government money, but also there's a lot of funding directly available to musicians for coronavirus and beyond that too. Literally, I've just been talking about specific coronavirus emergency relief funds, but there's always funds of the exact same nature for artists. You just need to research them. So especially research local ones in your city, in your state, and you would be surprised how much funding there really is available to artists. So that was secret number one, guys. We talked about all the various different types of grants and funds and donations and advances, and also donation options that are available to artists. So hopefully some of you guys at least learned a thing or two. Maybe you wrote something down. Maybe you're willing to research a little bit more. So that's cool. Let's move on to secret number two if you guys are ready. And that is how to diversify and grow your revenue through digital sales, licensing, royalties, and other little known income sources. Let me know if you guys are ready for this one. Who's ready for secret number two? I'm just gonna get a sip of water. Cool, Mike says, I am. Scarlett says, yes. Joe says, let's go. Okana says, ready. All right, awesome, love it, love it. Let's get into it. Now, with this secret, really what we're talking about is creating cash flow and building a future. And yes, there is definitely a future beyond coronavirus, okay? This is a moment in time, potentially a positive one, but really what I want you guys to think about is having more cash coming into your operation as an artist and actually using that to build a sustainable future, okay? Something that's not just gonna cover us for right now. That's what the grant money is for, right? The emergency grant money, just covering our basic needs. But now we're really talking about continuous cash flow and actually building a platform to stand upon. So let's get into that. Okay, does this look familiar to any of you guys? This is the Poor Artist Roadmap, okay? And for like 90% of artists, I feel like this is their entire business model. Step one, create music. Step two, release music digitally or physically. And that's the end of it. So yeah, if this is what you're doing, you're recording music and then your entire business model is to either sell it out of the trunk of your car or put it on TuneCore and just, you know, sit around twiddling your thumb waiting for checks to come in, then this is kind of the wrong way to do it, okay? Because listen, guys, there are literally dozens of ways to make money as an artist. So don't feel like you need to be restricted to what I just mentioned, okay? Let's get into some of these. I'm gonna prove it to you. Okay, number one, royalty collection. I can't tell you how many artists aren't even a member of a PRO, even though it's free to sign up to most of them. And without being a member of a PRO, it's extremely difficult to get paid any of these: mechanical royalties, performance royalties, digital performance royalties, streaming royalties, synchronization royalties, royalties. I mean, there's a lot of different type of royalties. And I don't think most artists really understand royalties, and they definitely don't understand how they get paid royalties. So let me just break this down for you guys real quick, okay? These are kind of the 5 ones that I usually refer to. When we're talking about mechanical royalties, okay, you are due an additional payment whenever somebody reproduces or distributes your CD or vinyl or digital music. And usually that's something like 9.1 cents per song, 5 minutes and under. So for example, if you sell 1,000 CDs, you're due, what is that, 9,000 cents. That's what, like 90 bucks? My math might be a little hazy. But yeah, that's on top of the money that you're getting from actually selling the CD. Okay. So that's what mechanical royalties are. It's the actual reproduction and distribution of your music. Then we have the performance royalties. And this is whenever your music gets played in a radio, in a restaurant, in a shop, bar, venue, club, and stuff like that. So for example, if you go to a club and you perform live, that is performance royalties that you are due. Or if they just play your track, if the DJ spins your track while you're not even there, then that is also performance royalties. Or if you get on a college radio station and they play your track, that is performance royalties, okay? And obviously the amount of that depends greatly on sort of, is it a national radio station? Is it a local radio station? Is it a restaurant chain? Is it a local restaurant? That kind of stuff. So your PRO actually negotiates these rates with all these various different venues. But, and this is the kicker with any kind of royalty, okay, you're not going to get paid any royalties unless all of these places, like the radio, the restaurant, the shops, the bars, they have your information. So they need to have, at the very least, your name and your registration number at your PRO. Otherwise, they're not going to send any of that information back to your PRO, which means your PRO can't collect money from them and pay it out to you. Okay? So many artists who do have a royalty account set up, they're just like twiddling their thumbs again, thinking like, oh, money's just going to roll in. But that's not how it works, because your PRO doesn't actively go out there and like hit up the bar owner like, hey man, did you play DJ Fantastic's music last night? That's not how it works. Okay? So make sure that all these places have your information and are submitting cue sheets and all that stuff. Now, the same way that we have performance royalties, we also have digital performance royalties. So this is anything, any kind of digital usage of your music, such as internet radio. I'm sure some of you guys know Pandora or like TuneIn or something like that. And digital performance royalties are actually the only type of royalty that isn't collected by most PROs. And instead, in the US, it's actually collected by Sound Exchange. So that means in order to get digital performance royalties, you have to have both a PRO account and also a Sound Exchange account. So BMI is not going to collect your Pandora radio streams, for example. So that's why it's definitely good practice to have a Sound Exchange as well. The fourth type of royalties are streaming royalties. And this is from any kind of digital streaming platforms like Spotify, for example, or YouTube, stuff like that. And essentially, there's a global payout rate that's negotiated with all these platforms by your PRO. And you're actually due a royalty whenever your songs get streamed on any of those platforms. And then finally, we have synchronization royalties. And what synchronization means is whenever they're basically matching up your audio with moving pictures. So for example, using your music in TV, in films, in advertising, or in video games, because it's synchronized, right? It's synchronized with a moving picture. And this is like a whole different kind of ball game. And again, you are due synchronization royalties every single time that happens. So if, for example, if somebody uses your music in the background of a video game or in a video that they just recorded and put out, then you are due royalties for that too. I'm seeing a question from Eric. He says, do you need a copyright to collect royalties from Pandora? Okay, this is something that so many artists misunderstand, but music has copyright the second that you create it. Automatically, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to register it somewhere. You don't have to pay money to some dude. Your music has copyright, and you are the owner of the copyright, okay? So do you need to copyright your music? Well, it already has copyright. Does that make sense? All right, let's move on to another revenue stream, and this is sync licensing. So you remember I talked previously about the synchronization royalties? Well, you can also get paid sync licensing fees, and this is like an upfront fee that the TV channels or the video games or the content creators on YouTube are going to pay to you to use your music. So you actually get paid an upfront licensing fee for the music, and then you also collect royalties on the back end too. So it's kind of nice. When it comes to sync licensing, I thoroughly recommend that you avoid some of those big sync platforms, you know, like Taxi, or what are some of the other ones? I can't remember right now. Pump Audio, I think. Do you guys know Taxi? You heard of it? They send out those annoying mailers like every week to my inbox. But anyway, I highly recommend that you avoid those big players, and the reason being is that they literally have tens of thousands of musicians on that platform, so they're not actually going to actively try to place any of your music, right? They're not going to actively do anything for you. And that's why I really recommend and much prefer working with small companies, like small boutique music agencies, because they have maybe a handful of artists, so they're actually going to be actively trying to place those tracks, instead of just, collecting subscription fees for people to join that platform, which is basically the entire model that Taxi uses. Search for small boutique music agencies, and you can literally type into Google like boutique music agency Los Angeles, or music agency placements New York, or whatever it is. Another thing that you can do, and nobody really does this at all, but you can contact music supervisors, which are the guys who decide what music gets used in a TV show or a video game. You can contact those people directly. You can literally just skip the queue and go directly to the source. So you don't have to pay any kind of fees or anything like that. Of course, it means more time involvement because you have to research those people and contact them. But actually researching them is pretty easy, because all you have to do is just put on your favorite TV show or play your favorite video game. And then at the very end in the credits, you're actually going to see who is the music supervisor. So for example, it's going to say like Adrian Wood, music supervisor. And then all you do is you go on LinkedIn, you type in Adrian Wood, music supervisor, you connect with them, you hit them up. You're friendly, obviously you give value. You never ask for something, you always give something. So for example, hey, I saw you worked on this video game. I thought you did a great job. The music was fantastic. And actually, if you're working on future projects, I make similar music. Here's a link. I'd love to create some free content for you. Let's network. Let's build a relationship. So that's something that anybody can do literally tomorrow. Okay. And I see Victor says he has a resource Google sheet with 500 libraries. Dude, that's awesome, bro. If you want to share that with the community later, that would be great. So that's sync licensing in a nutshell, okay? Now, another way for artists to gain money is YouTube monetization. And basically what this is earning money from advertising that's shown on YouTube. And the way it works is that ads start appearing either before or after or during your video. So if you have a YouTube channel, which every artist should have a YouTube channel because it's the world's biggest repository of music. It's literally the one website that has more music than any other website in the world. So even though it's a video website, it has more music than Spotify. It has more music than I don't know, CD Baby, iTunes, Amazon, any of those places. So every artist should be on YouTube. And you can earn money from monetization, where basically you get paid for everyone who watches your videos and then clicks on a banner or something like that. Now, monetization is actually, there's a second element to it, which is Content ID. Have you guys heard of Content ID before? Basically, what Content ID is, it fingerprints not just your own videos, but it actually searches all of YouTube for everyone who uploads your music. So if you're somebody who has a lot of fans who sort of repost your music or use your music in their videos, then you can actually also get paid advertising income from ads that get shown on their videos. Now, I have to throw a quick caveat out here, okay? You can only do Content ID if you own the exclusive rights to the instrumental that you're rapping on or singing on. Because obviously what happens is that you start claiming every single usage of that beat on YouTube too. So if other artists have rapped on it, or if the original producer has it uploaded, then they're going to start seeing annoying claims from you on their videos, which is, first of all, highly illegal, and secondly, just a really shady thing to do. So definitely don't do that. Make sure you fully own your song, okay? You have the rights to the instrumental. It has to be exclusive rights for you to enter it into Content ID. Just Content ID. You can, of course, monetize on your own channel as long as you have like a sync license or something like that, which is basically the license you need to monetize your own stuff on YouTube. Make sense? Now, how much can you make with YouTube monetization? It's somewhere in the ballpark of $1 to $2 for every 1,000 views. So if you have a video that has 100,000 views, that means you're making 100 to 200 bucks. It's not a lot of money, but it can start adding up, especially if you start building that kind of momentum as an artist and you start really connecting with your fans on YouTube, which often means not just, posting songs and making like little audio videos, but actually creating cool content. like behind the scenes or fan meetups or live shows, all that kind of stuff people love. And there's people who are killing it on YouTube. I mean, I was actually talking to an artist the other day who makes 100,000 per month, literally just creating videos on YouTube. And he barely even posts any music stuff anymore because he's just making like funny videos or entertaining videos or, you know, in the studio kind of videos and stuff like that. So let's talk about something that's very close to YouTube monetization, which is SoundCloud monetization. And this is pretty new, so a lot of artists don't know about SoundCloud monetization, but essentially the same way that you can get paid for ads being shown next to your music on YouTube, you can also do the same thing on SoundCloud. And you have to have a SoundCloud Premier agreement signed in order to do this. I don't think you need a SoundCloud Pro account, but I could be wrong about that, so definitely look into that. But the nice thing about SoundCloud monetization is that they actually pay closer to $3 for every 1,000 streams. So especially if you feel like you have a stronger base of support on SoundCloud, you know, there's so many of those like SoundCloud rappers coming out and stuff like that, then definitely look into this option because that can pay quite handsomely, especially when you're getting like, you know, some viral tracks and stuff like that popping. Now let's talk about a fifth revenue stream for artists, and this is internet radio. And I kind of mentioned this earlier on when we were talking about the digital performance royalties, right? And what this is basically digital stations that stream music. So for example, Pandora, TuneIn, or Slacker, or I think iHeartRadio is like digital now too. And the cool thing is that you can actually submit music to them directly, and most of them accept submissions from independent artists because they're constantly looking for new content. And once you're actually on that platform, your music is going to be available to all the content creators there. And you can actually also start building relationships with the various channels and channel owners, so they start playing your music. So really think of like, what's your lane? Is it like goth trap music, or is it, I don't know, boom bap 90s hip hop? And then just research like what stations are playing that and who do I contact to get my stuff there. And remember, in order to get paid streaming royalties from internet radio, you have to be a member of SoundExchange. So make sure that you do that. I believe if you're in the UK, the PRS there does collect digital. And if you're in Germany, I think GEMA does collect it as well. I'm not really sure what the situation is in like Netherlands and stuff like that, but definitely research that and make sure that you're getting digital performance royalties too. And by the way, I do think you can also apply as an international artist to all of these, like Pandora, TuneIn, Slacker. I don't think you necessarily have to be US based. So there's no reason not to do that. A sixth revenue stream, and this is a really big one, guys. Why do you think it is that like 90% of all the top artists today are literally just on tour all year round? It's because they're making the majority of their money from tour sales and merchandising. And when they're on tour, they make the most merchandising sales. So this is huge for artists, especially once you build that sort of loyal tribe of fans who just want to consume everything that you put out. It's really important that you have your merch game set up. And actually, a lot of guys who just create cool t-shirts or something like that, maybe they don't even make that much money from their music, but if they have a cool merch game, they can be making significant amounts on top of their usual revenue. And there's some really cool sites out there which make it very simple to set up merchandise. A lot of them even drop ship directly to customers, which means you don't even have to like order 500 t-shirts and then send them out from your garage. You can literally just have these shops send out t-shirts and stuff like that directly. So for example, check out Big Cartel or Shopify, Bandcamp, Dizzy Jam. These are just a handful of the many, many merchandise stores out there. Any of you guys currently selling merchandise? Let me know. Tony says he just started making hoodies and t-shirts. That's dope, man. Love it. Victor says yes. Just taking a swig of water. Wow, Victor says he sold out in pre-orders. That's awesome, man. I love that. Yeah, it can definitely pay, man. And a couple of top tips. One thing that's really great for merchandising is, don't just create one branded t-shirt with your logo and then never change your merch, but instead create some limited edition runs. So even if it's just like, I don't know, like a gold foil version of your logo that's only available for 50 people, or just, a really cool design of your new album artwork or something like that. So really put thought into this because that's the kind of thing that builds urgency and actually gets your fans talking and excited. And one thing that I always recommend is actually upselling merchandise with your music. So for example, if you have a new album coming out, as soon as your customer orders your album, you can bundle it together with, for example, a limited edition t-shirt or a hoodie, or I don't know, like a sticker or something like that. It's just a great way to create VIP boxes where you charge a little bit of a premium and your fans feel like they're really listened to and feel special and get excited about ordering that. It kind of adds an extra dimension to just purchasing music. It makes it more tangible because they don't just get the music, they now also get the t-shirt, so they can be a part of the entire experience, right? That's pretty exciting. Let's talk about a seventh way to make money as an artist, and that is, well, I was going to say live performance and gigs, but obviously with coronavirus, that kind of put a spanner in the works. So let's talk about remote gigs. And yes, this is the thing, and yes, it is successful for artists right now. What do you think every big artist right now is streaming? Like, for example, I was just watching an entire concert by Madonna the other day that was streamed, or big artists are streaming from their homes, and they're making it happen through sites like Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Instagram Live, Twitch, Stage It. It's actually very easy, and it doesn't take a lot of technology. You can literally do it on your smartphone. And yes, you can actually get paid for this too. You can either sell tickets to digital performances, or you can just accept tips at the end. You can ask for donations. You can upsell merch. You can literally just tell people like, hey, if you enjoyed my performance, my new album is out. Also, by the way, for all my VIP fans, you can also get the album plus a limited edition t-shirt. That kind of a thing, right? That's what we're talking about. Now, when you do this kind of stuff, okay, a lot of artists have been struggling with literally not running any kind of tests before they do a live performance. And it does take a little bit of finicking sometimes, like figuring out like Instagram Live, oh, which way is the camera pointing, or, what kind of a speed do I need with my internet? Is it going to be smooth? Is it going to sound good? Where do I need my mic to be positioned so there's no feedback and all that kind of stuff, right? So definitely test it and make sure the technology is up to speed. And of course, have a payment method set up. Even if you're literally just doing a gig for the fun of it to connect with your fans, a lot of those guys are going to want to tip you or something like that afterwards. So make sure you have like a Venmo or a Cash App or anything like that for tips and encores and all that good stuff. And again, so many eyeballs are on Instagram right now. So many eyeballs are on Facebook, like more than ever before. So it's a great time to start going on these kind of live shows and live performances to really connect with your audience. A couple of payment options to consider, by the way. Venmo is completely free. Cash App is completely free, and they don't take any kind of commissions or anything like that. So those are great ways to accept tips or encores or even merch payments very, very simply. You just tell people like, hey, Venmo me $20 for my album. It's at Adrian Wood or whatever it is. Zelle is another one, or of course PayPal and Payoneer. Let's talk about subscriptions, and this is something that I mentioned I obviously do. And by the way, guys, even though I'm not actively an artist anymore, I still do basically all these things. And what I do as a producer is very similar to what you guys do as an artist. And I work with artists all the time, so I have a very good feeling of what works that I do that works for artists too. And subscriptions is definitely one of them. Yet I never see artists really do any kind of subscriptions. But especially for your diehard fans, I feel like paying a couple bucks a month in order to have personal access to you, to have direct contact with you. For example, you could give them maybe not your phone number, but you could give them, for example, Voxer, which is like a messaging app, or your WhatsApp, which is encrypted, or you could give them your Telegram or something like that. And to get that kind of exclusive access to you is something that a lot of fans would pay for in order to ask you questions and actually connect with you. You can also give away exclusive content that's only available to subscribers. So only, for example, if you're a member of my Patreon and you're paying $10 a month or whatever it is, I'm going to be posting one track a week. And I'm also going to be taking requests if you want me to rap about a certain topic, whatever it is. You can get creative. There's a lot of different ways that you can make subscriptions work. And you can set up subscriptions through YouTube. YouTube actually has a ton of really cool tools that they recently rolled out for musicians specifically. Also, Bandcamp does subscriptions, or Patreon. Or if you want to go like a more third-party route, you can do Chargebee, which is just like a payment processor. And then you could set up, for example, the front end could be like a Shopify store or something like that. Another thing that works really well too is early access. So along with the exclusive content and direct contact, having access to, for example, your album a week before everyone else gets it, that's the kind of thing that a lot of fans eat up. Let's talk about stock music libraries. Now, this is different than sync licensing because this is stock music, and this is, think of almost like stock music sites is like, you know when rappers go to BeatStars to buy beats? Well, guess what? Content creators and video makers, they go to Audio Jungle to buy stock music because they need it as background music for their video, or they need it for a presentation they're doing at their work, or they need it for that workout video that they want to post on YouTube or something like that, okay? So don't just focus on the artist side of things, but really look into like the business side of things too. So this is more like artist to business instead of artist to fan. And you can go on sites like Audio Jungle, Pond5, Pump Audio, Getty Music, and you can literally just onboard your music there. And if it gets licensed, you're not only usually going to get an upfront licensing fee, but sometimes also back-end royalties. Now, I do have to warn you guys, though, the publishers on those sites sometimes take a pretty big chunk of sales, but it's still free money, right? And it's still more revenue coming in. So usually I'm not too worried about that. And always, always, always remember to read the fine print before you sign any kind of agreements with any platform. And make sure it's a non-exclusive publishing agreement. You don't want to be locked into just one website. You want to be able to have the freedom to go and post your music in lots of different places and make money from all of them, right? So make sure it's a non-exclusive agreement before you sign it. And of course, make sure you read all the other fine print too. If you don't understand it, just consult with a music lawyer or somebody who knows, who knows about these things, like me. And even more ideas, okay? That was literally 9 strategies to make money. Maybe at least 1 or 2 of those is something you're not currently doing, so hopefully that inspired you to try something new. But here's even more ideas, okay? Get creative. You can create educational content. For example, if you're great at vocal mastering, or you play the guitar, you can do online lessons. Or if you're great at marketing as an artist, you could write an ebook and you can sell that to other artists. You could also create vocal kits or loop kits. So many producers and so many production stores are constantly looking for vocal kits, like little vocal shouts and stuff like that, even just chants or like whatever it is, that kind of stuff. Producers eat it up. Or if you can play instrument, you can even create an entire loop package for those sites and sell them there too. Another thing to look at is brand partnerships. So certain brands will literally pay artists literally just to represent them. So wear their t-shirt, to, I don't know, use their microphone or test their microphone, make a YouTube video, that kind of stuff. Songwriting and composing. You don't just have to be a performer. You can also be a songwriter. You can also be a composer. You can be a ghostwriter. There's a ton of different ways to be an active artist and get paid without necessarily having to be a performer at the same time. There's also affiliate partnerships. For example, you could create a blog article for other musicians talking about the 10 best microphones, and all of those link back to Amazon, and you get paid a commission every time somebody buys one of the mics you recommend. You could also take part in song contests. There's so many contests out there, and a lot of them are free to enter. For example, the Anno Domini Nation Song Contest, and you can literally win cash or win prizes. And if you want to, you can sell those prizes for cash. So what I'm saying is there's a lot of opportunities out there. And finally, I really recommend that every artist has their own platform, their own blog, their own website, something like that, just somewhere where you own that traffic, you're converting that traffic, you're getting people onto your site, you're hopefully getting them to enroll in your email list, and then we can really use that as a solid foundation to build our own platform. And of course, once you have your own website, there's so many ways that you can monetize that too. I mentioned, creating blog articles with affiliates, but also you could have advertising banners if you wanted. You could advertise other people's products. You could make joint ventures with other musicians and cross-promote. All right, guys, I mean, there's an endless amount of strategies. So a couple of do's and don'ts again. This is do's and don'ts for when it comes to building your revenue streams. First of all, do be creative and do be adaptable. Okay, this is by no means an exhaustive list of stuff to do. The more creative you are and the more sort of diverse you are with your royalty streams and income streams, the better. Also, I highly recommend repurposing your content. If you, for example, have a live performance on Instagram, make sure you record it, because then guess what? You can do other cool stuff like post it on social. You can have it as be one of the content in your subscription where people have access to all your recorded live concerts. You can chop it up and use it in an educational course where you're teaching people how to perform live. There's actually an unlimited way that you can repurpose content. And this is something I'm really trying to do more and more of, because, you know, just trying to put all this effort into doing like a one-time gig or a one-time show or creating one single song, it's monumentous, right? So we want to be able to extend that and use it in lots of different ways. And that even comes down to, for example, compilation albums, right? For example, now might be a great time if you've released several albums in the past to do like a best of album. Or, you know, you could bundle up some of your old albums and sell them as a package together with a limited edition t-shirt, whatever it is. You know, it's all about repurposing content and monetizing in multiple ways. Another thing that I always preach to everyone is over-deliver on value. Never leave people feeling like, you know, they expected more. But for example, if you tell them like, hey, my new album is going to come out, it's going to be 10 tracks, it's going to be dope, then guess what? Just surprise them with an additional 2 bonus tracks. Because that's the kind of move that your fans really appreciate and makes them constantly come back for more, because they already know that you're the kind of person that over delivers on value and they're going to get something amazing. Also, cross promote your offers. So for example, if you have a subscription, why not just put that link also in your YouTube videos and on your social page? Or if you have your tracks up on Audio Jungle, why not just put that on your Instagram profile somewhere in your Linktree settings or something like that. So always cross promote. You never know who's looking at your content, but maybe not quite finding what they need on that specific platform. But then if you link them to another place, you're still getting revenue from them potentially. And then finally, double down on things that are working right now. Okay, double down on the things that are working right now. Don't feel that like, oh, you know, Instagram Live, it's played out because thousands of artists are already on there. Like, no, the reason they're on there is because it works. So you should go in there and make it happen too. And then if it stops working in like a year from now or 6 months from now, nobody's watching IG Lives anymore, then do the next thing that works right in that moment. So it's all about just jumping on, I don't want to say trends because trends feels like such a dirty word, but jumping on opportunity, okay? Seizing opportunity. And then if things die down, you go to the next thing. Don't feel tied down or anything like that, but also don't feel like you missed the wave, okay? It's working right now, so just take advantage. And do not ignore your super fans, okay? Super fans are who pays like 75% of your artist career for almost every artist. These are the guys who eat up every single album, they buy every t-shirt, they come to all your shows. They're the kind of people that you need to be embracing. You need to give them access to you. You can't ignore them, okay? Don't be up on your high horse or something like that, feeling like you're a superstar. Actually embrace your super fans. Talk to them, engage them. Also, do not be unprofessional or unreliable. That means, for example, if you have a subscription program, actually deliver on what people are paying for and actually create the content. And finally, don't just set something up and then forget about it, but actually be active about seeing what's working, what could be improved. For example, with your merchandise, you know, a lot of artists just kind of create one t-shirt and then that's in their store for like 10 years. No, you want to be constantly analyzing, adapting, changing, refreshing things. Awesome. All right. So essentially, secret number 2, what we were saying is that your music can make you more money than you think. You're probably leaving a ton of money on the table right now by not employing all of the strategies that I talked to you guys about, and then some. There's like a bunch of other things that I'm sure many of you guys, because you're creative, by nature, as artists, you're creative. I'm sure you can think of tons more ways to make money. So don't leave that on the table, okay? Actually seize that and take advantage. All right, guys, that was secret number 2. Did you like that one? Let me know, is there any one of those revenue strategies that you're currently not doing, at least one of them? Joseph says yes. Joe says it was dope. Bryson says loved it. All right, awesome, cool. All right, guys, so let's move on to secret number 3 if you're ready. And this one is the exact strategy independent artists are using to build their own platform, multiply their fan base, and crush the major labels. Let's get into it. So what we're talking about here is taking control of our own destiny. Okay? You know what the single biggest thing is that scares me in life? It's things being out of my control. And that's why I've always worked for myself, because if I'm employed by somebody else, then my destiny is in their hands, right? They could fire me whenever they want to. The business could go bust without me having any kind of impact on it. And a whole host of things could happen. My paycheck could dry up. So that's why I've always been so big on building my own platform and taking control of my own destiny. And that's what I want for you guys too. So that's what we're going to talk about right now. Does this look familiar to any of you guys? Is this something you guys are doing currently as your social media quote unquote strategy? Check out my mixtape, check out my mixtape, check out my mixtape. All right, this is like something I literally get 1,000 of these every single day. So please don't be this guy, okay? This is not how to build a platform and grow as an artist. Instead, let me teach you guys my music marketing master framework. This is something that I came up with, and feel free to make notes, and hopefully this is going to help you guys too. So this is the framework we're going to use to grow as an artist and to build our fan base. So first of all, step one, branding. This is the very first thing that we need to think about. And essentially what we're talking about is, how do you actually want to portray yourself? What's the image of yourself that you want to put out into the world? And yes, you can play a character. You can be whoever you want to be. You don't necessarily have to be yourself, but you can be yourself if that feels the most natural version of you. And then once you establish that in your head, how does that actually manifest itself in your artist name, your logo, the way you communicate with your fans and with the world, and even your appearance? And then, of course, how does that sort of trickle down into your music? Because we have to essentially tell a story, right? We want people to be drawn into our world. And that's not going to happen if we're just everyday Joe, just, not really doing anything exciting or interesting, basically being a replaceable artist, right? So you really got to think about and drill down on like, what makes me unique? What do I want to be? Who do I want to be? What do I want to stand for as well? In other words, like, what's my message that I'm putting out into the world? So for example, maybe for you that means you're standing for blue collar workers and representing that life. Or maybe it means you're standing for, I don't know, maybe you're standing for international artists and bigging up the Netherlands hip hop scene. Maybe that's your mission. Maybe that's your message. Or maybe your message is like representing for whatever hood you came from, or, making it to the top from no matter what your circumstances are. Maybe that's your message. Maybe that's what you want to stand for. And then you also got to start thinking about, like, who are you talking to? Who are you actually talking to? Who are you addressing with this message? Who's your audience? And so many artists feel like, oh, my fan base is music lovers. Or my fan base is everyone who likes hip hop. Like, I'm sorry, but that's not going to cut it. You need to niche down, and you need to understand, like, specifically who you're talking to. Maybe it's like 18 to 25-year-old boom bap loving, 90s loving hip hop heads based mainly in New York and on the East Coast or something like that, right? You really need to sort of crystallize, like, who am I actually voicing myself to? Okay. And I see Braden says I'm pretty isolated from everything. So Braden, that's the nice thing about the internet, because it changes everything. It democratizes everything. You can literally reach anyone you want to. Remember, I came from this tiny village in the middle of nowhere in Germany, and somehow I connected with all these big US hip hop artists and ended up working with people like 50 Cent. And that was all from a tiny village in the middle of nowhere, right? It doesn't really matter where you're from or where you're stuck right now, what your environment is. What matters is, like, where are you going? What's your message? How are you going to connect with people? And there's so many different ways to do that. So that's branding, okay? That's step one, the first thing you really need to crystallize. And then the next thing we need to think about is step two, which is identifying our audience. In other words, who is my fan avatar? Like, who is this guy Literally just picture him in your head, like write it down. What does he do? What are his hobbies? What are his likes, dislikes? What are his needs? What motivates him? What are his desires? Like, what does he aspire to be? Where does he want to go in life? But also, what are his fears? Like, what's something that he really fears in life? Maybe he fears to fail, or maybe he fears that he's going to be stuck in the same dead-end town that he's lived his whole life. So that is your fan avatar, right? The guy that you're speaking to. And then once you sort of crystallize, like, who is this guy? You start thinking about, like, well, what other artists does he listen to? Like, who does he enjoy? In other words, what artists are similar to me? And then what that leads into is basically understanding, like, where does my fan avatar congregate? You know, where do they hang out? Maybe it's at the, I don't know, like the Talib Kweli concert, or maybe it's at the East Coast Hip Hop Forum online, or maybe it's at so-and-so's Instagram page where they're all commenting on his stuff because they're a big DJ Premier fan. Whatever the case may be, right? Like, where does your audience congregate? And then finally, we start thinking about who caters to that audience. And this is a concept that I drew from funnels. I'm sure many of you people know that I'm big on marketing with funnels and stuff like that. And it's this concept of the Dream 100. And basically what the Dream 100 is the 100 people in the entire world who have your target audience and are sort of the opinion leaders for that audience. So for example, if I'm trying to be a rapper for like East Coast Love and Boom Bap guys, then maybe one of my Dream 100 would be DJ Premier or like DJ Clue or whatever the case may be, right? So literally like write those guys down and figure out who's catering to my audience, okay? Who are like the big dogs that are the opinion leaders for the people that I'm trying to make music for. Now, step number 3, once we've established that, okay, we understand who we are as artists, we understand who we're trying to make music for as artists. Now we start thinking about like, what are our goals with music? And what is the ultimate end goal? Maybe it's to be a self-made, successful musician who earns enough money to sustain himself. Or maybe it's to be a multi-millionaire with royalty checks coming from the NBA because I want to get my songs placed there, and that's my ultimate vision. Or maybe it's to represent for my city and be the biggest Irish rap artist coming out of Boston or whatever. You know, I'm just making stuff up, pulling the stuff out of my butt. But essentially, that is something that's up to you, right? Every artist, every musician is going to have his own unique ultimate end goal. And it's really important to understand that and really visualize that and keep that in mind always, because that's what's going to be the driving motivation for you to keep doing what you're doing. So step 1, we understand what is the ultimate end goal, and then we work backwards from there. We understand what are the intermediate goals that we need in order to achieve that big goal, right? So if my ultimate end goal is to be the biggest rapper coming out of Boston, then maybe intermediate goals would be, hey, I'm going to play a gig at this venue, which is like the biggest venue in Boston. Maybe the other intermediate goal is to get on so-and-so Boston radio station and have my tracks played there. And maybe another intermediate goal is to create a successful merch line that, I don't know, sells 1,000 t-shirts on St. Paddy's Day. Whatever those intermediate goals are that you feel like you need to hit in order to achieve your ultimate end goal. Now, again, we work backwards from there. What are the tasks actually involved to reaching those goals? So if one of my intermediate goals was to get on this and this radio station and to break my music, then the intermediate tasks would be research the DJ who spins on that station, who most likely would play my tracks, figure out where does he hang out, figure out who's in his circle, figure out does he take music from independent artists, what are the tasks involved in order to get my music on there, essentially. And then finally, the final breakdown from there is, again, work back from there. What are the specific actions that we have to take in order to actually pull through on those tasks? So that could be, hey, today I'm going to walk to the radio station. I'm going to have my mixtape in hand. I'm going to meet this guy because I know he drinks coffee at this spot at like 10 a.m. I'm going to talk to him, give him my mixtape. And that's the action that I'm taking, okay? So when you start breaking it down like that into specific actions, and you actually pull through on those, then before you know it, you're pulling through on the tasks, and then those tasks are going to turn into meeting your intermediate goals. And then ultimately, if you hit enough intermediate goals, you're going to achieve your vision, and you will have accomplished your end goal. Does that make sense? So many artists, they just see the end goal and they want to get there like today, but they don't really understand the steps they need to take or really take the time to understand what needs to be done to achieve all these different things. So we work backwards, okay? That's how entrepreneurs get stuff done. That's how successful people operate and actually become successful. Awesome. Wacky Zaki says, "Damn, my dude, this is super insanely helpful." Awesome. I love to hear that, man. That's great. All right, let's move on to step 4. And this is the actual content creation. So notice that at this point, we haven't even put any music out, right? We've just sort of been working on ourselves and working on understanding our vision and clarifying where we want to go, who do we want to cater to, how are we gonna actually meet our goals. Now we're actually starting the process of creating content. And when we create content, we always want to think about like, how do we actually engage our audience that we identify? And when it comes to, for example, social media posting, I always think of 3 categories, like 3 main interests that my target audience has. So, for example, if you're that guy who wants to be the biggest rapper in Boston, again, I'm just making shit up, but if that is sort of your target audience, then maybe 3 categories your fans are interested in could be the Boston Red Sox, so sports. Another category could be, of course, hip hop music, maybe specifically Irish hip hop music or something like that, or Irish ancestry hip hop music. And then finally, the final category might be, I don't know, leprechauns. Let's say leprechauns. By the way, I'm not trying to be racist or anything like that. If there's any Irish people here, I'm making shit up. But let's say those are the 3 big categories that my fans are interested in. So then whenever I create content on Facebook or on Instagram, I'm always creating content that somehow meets one of those 3 categories. So maybe I'm posting about like so-and-so Irish rapper's new track. And then I'm posting about like the Boston Red Sox or something like that. And notice that none of this necessarily has to be all music-based. You're literally just engaging your audience and building a relationship and actually creating content for the kind of interests that they have. Does that make sense? And then finally, we need to sort of crystallize also what is our content strategy, because there's no point just throwing stuff out there and seeing what sticks, but actually come up with like a game plan. For example, I'm going to post 1 piece of content twice a day, morning and afternoon, because that's when most people are checking their phones. And then I'm going to do that for the next 3 months leading up to some kind of an album release or something like that. And then increasingly provide more information and start building up the hype to the album as we get closer to that date. So really like have a time frame in your mind and have a strategy in mind. Like, what platforms are we going to use? Is it going to be Instagram? Is it going to be Facebook? Are we going to focus on creating videos on YouTube? And you don't have to be on every single platform. You don't. Just figure out where does your target audience hang out and where do they most engage with your content, and then just double down on that. Maybe at most pick like 2 platforms that you're really going to hammer and do really well on. And then we also have to think about, maybe does it make sense to create some free content? So many musicians are super protective about their music. I totally get that. But think of free content almost like investing a free track in order to get a new fan, or maybe even get a new customer who's going to buy music from you in the future. So when you think of it in terms of like return on investment, then you don't really have to be that scared about giving away free content. And actually, free content is a great way to introduce people to your world and start to draw them in. So never be afraid to give out something for free. We also have to start thinking about like, how are we going to drive traffic to our content? And this is also where your Dream 100 comes in, because you want to start hitting up those people and seeing how maybe they can approach your dream customers or your dream music fans, and actually getting them to come to your content. So that'd be, for example, going on a podcast, or maybe having that DJ spin your record, or maybe having an influencer repost one of your tracks, which can actually be a huge compounding effect on how many people see your music. So all this kind of stuff is where we're at. And then we also have to consider like, where does it actually make sense to maybe invest some money? So I'm not just saying like invest blindly, but actually have a strategy in place. Only invest money in the platforms where you're actually going to get a payoff, and only invest money in the people who have your target audience as their audience too. So for me personally, what works the best when it comes to paid traffic is Facebook ads, and by extension also Instagram ads. But again, just really make sure that, first of all, you understand your targeting. You understand who your fan avatar is, because that's going to make it much easier to really niche down the targeting and make it much more specific on Facebook, so you're not just throwing money down a drain. And then another thing that's super important is actually earning your own traffic, owning traffic. The problem with cold traffic, for example, like somebody who comes to your Instagram page from an ad or from some other website or something like that, is that we don't own that traffic. It's owned by Instagram, right? That could go away at any second. Do you guys remember when Facebook changed their algorithm and all of a sudden Facebook fan pages basically became obsolete because like the reach was just really shitty? You know, you would post like a new comment on your Facebook fan page and like 2 people would see it. And before that, it would have been hundreds or thousands. So that's why it's so important to turn cold traffic into traffic that we own. In other words, traffic that we didn't own before is now ours. And the way we do that is by, for example, getting them on our email list or getting them on our text message list. And those are literally the only 2 sources of traffic in the entire world that we own 100%. Because no matter what, nobody can take an email address away from you once it's on your list. And nobody can take a phone number away from your phone once it's on there. So trying to funnel your fans into giving them your email or giving them your number is the most powerful thing you can do as a musician and pretty much as any business owner, to be honest with you. And this again comes hand in hand with this sort of idea of creating free content too. So maybe the way that you get people onto your email list is by having a link on your Instagram profile saying like, hey, a free track for everyone that joins my newsletter or something like that. So that can be supremely powerful. And then finally, I promise this is the last one. I know we're getting kind of deep into stuff right now, but this is the last step. This is monetizing your audience. So now that we've crystallized who we're targeting, we crystallized what are our goals, we understood in step number 4, what kind of content to create, we're creating great content, and now finally we have to actually make money from the content, right? So that means basically thinking about like what combination of revenue strategies that we talked about earlier can we implement, what actually makes sense, how do we leverage the traffic that we now own? So once we have those emails, we have those phone numbers, how do we build a relationship with our fans that we can turn into eventually also a monetization situation? How do we increase transaction value? So when we're actually putting out an album, maybe we bundle it together with old albums and some kind of VIP package to really increase the transaction value and make more money from every sale. And then we start thinking about like, what does our audience want more of? Because if we're just creating content for ourselves, then our audience eventually is going to tune out, right? So really pay attention to what are they resonating with. Maybe we start thinking about how do we leverage exclusivity and leverage access to us. Once we have these diehard fans, like how do we give them what they want, but also receive something in turn? And how do we build anticipation and hype? So remember, I talked about that album rollout strategy where slowly over, let's say like 3 months, you're gradually dropping more information, maybe a couple tracks, and just building that flow of anticipation. And then again, guys, this is so important, but how do we over-deliver on value? So we don't just give people what they're expecting, but we're actually giving them a little bit more to really make them super excited and happy. And then finally, who can help us in this whole process? Who can promote for us? What Dream 100s can we hit up? How can we provide value for them so that in turn, they're going to want to help us out? And that is how we start really monetizing our audience and really start getting this whole revenue machine kicking into gear, okay? So this is not step 1. Making money is not step 1, it's step 5. But you can do all of this pretty quickly once you really put your mind to it. So what does this actually look like in practice? Okay, this is like a little flow chart, a digital marketing strategy for musicians. Maybe it will look something like this. We got the content marketing on the one side, including things like forums, blogging, guest posts. Maybe we have the paid advertising if that's something we want to get into. For example, the media ads, Facebook ads. At the top there, we have the conversion rate optimization. So that's just a fancy way of saying like, how do we really get the most money out of transactions? And that's like the repurposing of content. It's the bundling of things and whatnot. And then on the right side there, we have the email marketing, which also, by the way, it also includes SMS marketing, text message marketing. And how do we leverage social media? how do we use all these platforms to really drive traffic and build our list. So for me personally, the ones that I don't try and do all of this, okay? The ones that I really try to focus and double down on are, for the conversion rate, I think about web form optimization. So basically, like my website, I told you guys I use funnels to sell beats and sell content for producers too. In terms of email marketing, I really try to focus on automation. So setting up automated emails, for example, to people who join my email lists. For you guys, you could, for example, have an automated email sequence that starts building a relationship, having a conversation with your fans, and dropping some free music. In terms of content marketing, I love guest posts. I love really leveraging my Dream 100 where other people write about me and send traffic back to me. And then I told you guys already, paid advertising, I love Facebook ads. I think that's the biggest platform. And finally, social media marketing, I really believe for musicians, YouTube is the one to go for. But of course, if you say like, hey, 80, Instagram is where it's at for me, I get so much great interaction there, then that's totally fine too. So here's a little quote for you guys. You know, I mentioned this is obviously crazy times, but actually right now is the perfect opportunity for musicians to learn, to grow, and to build their own platform. Okay, all of you guys are probably stuck at home right now. Maybe you have more time on your hands than you did before. Maybe you're just seeking a change or trying something new, but now is the time to do this. Now is the time to really implement this. A final round of do's and don'ts, guys, okay? Do actively engage with your followers. Don't ignore their comments, don't ignore their messages, but actually take half an hour or an hour out of your day to literally just go through all your Instagram messages, Facebook messages, whatever it is, and actually engage with your followers. Maybe even go a little bit, you know, that extra mile and send them a short 3-second video instead of just typing a response. Can you imagine what that would do for a fan if they literally got a video from you just saying like, yo man, just wanted to say thanks for liking my latest post. I mean, that takes you 3 seconds. That's faster than typing a message, right? But imagine if you send that as an Instagram response to one of your fans. Think about your branding, okay? That's the number one thing, the first step. So think about your branding always. Really understand and crystallize what you stand for and always tell a compelling story, okay? Now, telling a compelling story doesn't mean you need to come up with this elaborate backstory and like a superhero origin story or something. It just means understanding what you stand for, understanding your messaging, and being consistent with it. Don't be afraid to niche down and actually speak to a specific audience. As a musician, such a huge mistake musicians make is thinking that they need to appeal to everyone, like every single person who likes hip-hop music. But that's not true at all. In fact, I mean, guys, I've been making underground boom bap hip hop beats for over almost 20 years, and I'm one of the most successful online producers of all time. And you would think that people would pressure me into making modern trap beats or something like that, but hey, that's not my lane, and it's worked great for me, and it's worked great for many, many artists that are niched down like that. Also, put out polished content, okay? Don't post your work in progress tracks. You always want to put out the best version of yourself, always. Don't put out uncompleted remixes or, hey, this is a track I'm working on. It's not mixed yet. So many artists do that too, and it just looks so unprofessional. You don't want to be that guy. Do have a plan of action. Feel free to literally think about, what am I doing this year? Like not just this month, but like this year. Am I maybe rolling out an album in October? Does that mean I'm going to bring out a mixtape in September leading up to it? That kind of stuff, right? And do become a better marketer. Just take off your artist hat for a second and put on your marketing hat. It's so important for you guys, especially if you want to be a self-made independent artist, to actually learn how to sell your content, how to market yourself, how to market your album and your music. It's probably just as important as the actual music you put out, maybe even a little bit more important. And then finally, do hold yourself accountable and be proactive, okay? You are in control of your own destiny, which means whether or not you succeed or not is entirely up to you. So hold yourself accountable like that. Don't blame other people. Don't blame the industry. Don't blame not having a manager, not having a label. No, you are in control of everything, and you have the tools and you have the ability to succeed. A couple do nots, okay? Please do not be mass spammer. Do not be that guy who's just like commenting on 100 people's Instagram saying like, check out my mixtape, check out my mixtape. That's not how you build a following. That's not how you create, you don't create a relationship that way with other people. Don't pay for fake views or followers. I think this is pretty obvious, but essentially everybody usually can tell if it's fake, and it's going to ruin your algorithm, because all of a sudden, if your Facebook post only gets shown to 10% of your audience, but 50% of your audience is bots in India, then actually you're only getting your stuff shown to like 5 people. So it's just going to ruin, how many people actually see your content, and it's just not good. Don't try to appeal to everyone. Again, niching down is actually the way to go. Don't put out unfinished, poor quality content. We already said that. Don't put out music without context. Actually tell a story around the music that you create. Most music fans follow artists, okay? They don't follow musicians, they follow artists. They want to know, what's his backstory? How did he get into music? Why did he record this song? What's the meaning of it? So many people constantly just look up like, hey, meaning of lyrics, or like this artist's Instagram page, I want to follow them, I want to see what they're wearing, I want to see what they're up to today. They're not constantly thinking like, oh, when is his next music coming out? So actually put your music into context, okay? Do not release music without a plan. Don't just throw a track out there with like no preamble, no context, nobody's expecting it, and then expect people to be excited about it, right? That's not really how it works. And do not focus 100% on being an artist. It's not enough to be a great artist. It's not enough to be an amazing vocalist. You do actually have to learn how to brand and market yourself too. And then finally, and this is the big one, do not wait on a record label or a manager to make you. Okay? Do not wait on somebody else to save you or literally like do things for you. You have to make them happen yourself, especially nowadays. I mean, if your ultimate end goal is to be on a record label, which is fine, but if that is your ultimate end goal, then labels today aren't making artists, okay? They're basically signing ready-made artists who already have fan bases. So it's up to you to create that platform. It's up to you to create that hype. And then guess what? The record labels and managers are going to take note and come to you. But don't wait on that situation to happen, and don't feel like that should be, your number one priority. Because then you just wait around forever and it doesn't happen. Whereas the guys who actually built their own platform, they're already making money, they're already successful, and then if a record label comes to them, it's just the cherry on top. So what I'm saying, guys, is this right here. You can create your own success. Every single one of you guys watching this today, if you work hard and you put your mind to it and you take on board what I'm teaching you, you can create your own success. That's what I really want to leave you guys with. All right, so we talked about a lot of different stuff, right? We got 3 secrets. Do you guys like that last one, by the way? Number 3? You guys going to use that framework? Good. Mike says, yep. Brian says, yes, sir. Love it. Okay. All right. Andrew says lots of screenshots. Yeah, I hear you, man. I mean, it's a lot of stuff, right? We talked about a lot of different things, and I'm sure that for some of you guys, it kind of feels like information overload, right? Like you're drinking water from a fire hydrant. Listen, I'm with you guys, and I fully understand it. But I did actually put something together with you guys and for you guys, which I think a lot of you are going to find really useful. And it's actually a special offer, which I think is really going to help some of you guys and really systematize what we talked about, so you can put it into an actionable strategy that's going to work for you literally today. So if you guys are cool with it, I'd love to share this offer that I've worked on. Just spend like 10 minutes talking about it real quick. Is that okay with you guys? Is that cool? Chanel says, yes, go for it. Yelissa says, yes. Dominic says, yes. All right, love it. Great. Always like to ask permission first. So that's my disclaimer. And this is what I have for you guys. I'm super excited to present to you the Unlocked Artist Bundle. All right. So do you guys want to know what the Artist Bundle is? All right, let's get into it. This is the Unlocked Artist Bundle. And this is what you're going to get with it. First of all, you're going to get the Unlocked Artist Training Package, where basically I'm going to make available to you guys the video recording of today's session, which, by the way, I'm going to send out a free replay to everyone watching this. I really want to hook you guys up and help you out. So everyone is going to get a free replay, so you can rewatch this as many times as you want. But Those guys who want to also get the unlocked artist training package are going to get the video recording so they can download it, watch it on their phones or their, in their own time. You're also going to get the webinar slides as a PDF format so you can read through it. You're also going to get worksheets, which are going to guide you through the framework, which are going to guide you through the revenue models that we talked about and a whole bunch more. And you're also going to get the expanded artist grant and funding list with hyperlinks to every single one of those grants that I showed you guys. So of course you can just rewatch this and you can research the grants yourself, but I actually put together a really long expanded list with all of the links and stuff like that for your convenience too. So that's the first thing you're gonna get, which is the unlocked artist training package. And I'm putting a value on this of $97. All right, it's probably more, but let's call it 97 bucks. The second thing that I'm also gonna give you guys is the unlocked artist resource treasury. And this is really a huge compendium of ebooks and content which you can read through. There's some real gems in here. There's the getting your first 100,000 plays, which kind of guides you through how to crush it on Spotify. There's Digital Dollars 1 and 2, which is going to show you how to get paid with sync licensing, how to set up your home studio. You're also going to get the Find Your Tribe ebook, which teaches you really how to release something digitally and grow that tribe of loyal fans like we talked about earlier. For anyone recording at home, also the industry vocal secrets. So it's really good to obviously not be dependent on always having to go to a studio, but actually getting to record from home, which I'm sure that so many of you guys are being forced to right now anyway. So now is a great time to also learn vocal secrets and recording and mixing and mastering and stuff like that. And you're also going to learn how to earn and collect music royalties. You're going to get a goal setting guide and a whole bunch more. So that's all in the Artist Treasury series. And the value of all of those books together comes to $197, which means we have a total value of $294. Now, this one I'm super excited about. I'm also going to give you guys the unlocked live sessions. And if you enjoyed today's presentation, hopefully most of you guys did, you're going to get another 4 coaching sessions with me. And it's going to be a live group session just like this one, except that I'm going to sort of turn on the camera for all of you guys, so we can all interact and you can all ask me questions. So any topics at all that you have while you're kind of going through all these things of setting up your revenue streams, going through the framework, all of that stuff we can talk about and clear up together. And I'm really gonna help you on your journey and help you to be successful as artists. I'm also gonna be planning to have a couple special guests join me on those sessions. So there might be some special people that I'm sure many of you will recognize who are gonna help me train you guys. And of course, I'm also going to record all the sessions for you guys just like today and give you those videos. So that is the unlocked live sessions. And usually, I mean, these are all at least hour-long sessions. I usually charge at least $200 an hour for a consultation. So I'm calling this an $800 value for 4 sessions, which comes to a total value of $1,094. And okay, this is the one that many of you guys are probably the most excited about. I actually put together an exclusive beat package. This is not available anywhere else. This is brand new. It's a 6 GB beat pack. All of the beats inside come in high quality MP3 and WAV format from our multi-platinum production team, Anno Domini Nation. And of course, you're gonna get a commercial usage rights license to all of them. And they're all new beats from 2020. This is the unlocked beat package, never been released. And I know you guys are gonna love those beats. And of course, they're gonna hopefully inspire you to create amazing new content so you can really crush it with your next releases. So actually, if you bought all of these beats individually from our store, you get the WAV license, the $27 each, 6 GB worth of beats. So there's actually $2,430 worth of beats in this bundle. So that means we come to a grand total value of $3,524. So obviously, I'm not going to charge you $3,524, right? You guys already know that. But I do have some questions for you real quick, okay? I'm curious, like, if all this artist bundle did was to actually give you a clear and actionable roadmap for monetizing your music, do you think it would be worth $3,500? I mean, bear in mind that basically this could have the ability to finally turn you into a successful artist, monetizing your music, and getting royalty checks and all of that good stuff. So would it be $3,500? Probably, right? I would say so. So let me ask you this, okay? If all this artist bundle did was to give you a winning marketing strategy that exponentially grows your fans, would that be what, $3,500? Yeah, of course, right? Because at the end of the day, if you have a bigger fan base, you can monetize it better and better. And also, if your ultimate end goal is to be on a record label or to get a manager, then those are the kind of people who are going to start taking notice as well. So having a big fan base is really the be-all, end-all right now of being a successful independent artist. So yeah, it would be worth it, right? And finally, this is the last one. I'm just curious about this. Like, if all this bundle did was to supply you with enough hot new beats to record several albums worth of material, I mean, 6 gigabytes of beats, that's at least like 10 albums worth, right? So would that be worth $3,500? Yes, of course it would, right? So you guys can see, obviously it would be a good deal at $3,524. But however, because I want to actually help you guys out big time, that's what I stand for. That's what I'm all about. And because I also want to reward everyone who goes all in, which is, of course, you guys who are here with me live today, you can get started now and get everything for just 47 bucks. That's it, just $47 one time. So if you want to get this thing, you can secure your bundle at innercircleprogram.com/bundle. Listen, I know it's a crazy price, but this is just what I want to do for you guys, and hopefully this is really going to help you guys out. And yeah, you're going to have tons of beats, you're going to have tons of knowledge, and hopefully this is really going to set you guys up for success. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I do have some exclusive bonuses just for you guys who are here live with me too. On top of everything else, you're going to get the artist video playbook. Actually hit up my friend How to Rap Drew and the Music Majors, and they made available some video trainings to me. Maybe some of you guys know How to Rap Drew, know him. He's a really great guy, really great teacher, and he made available the Advanced Branding Bootcamp and also his self-made classic video book. So he's going to teach you how to create the most awesome album ever, and then you're also going to learn how to actually roll out that album and make it count with the album rollout tutorial. This is going to show you step-by-step all these sort of things you need to do to really make your album hit, and not just have it released and nobody listens to it or buys it, but really the strategy to make sure it hits hard. So that's the album rollout tutorial. And I have another super secret bonus for you guys, the Unreleased Heat Beat Bundle, which is actually another 1 gigabyte of unreleased beats. These have never been released before, completely exclusive. You can't get them from our website or anywhere else. And of course, you're also going to get high quality MP3 and WAV format for all the beats and a commercial usage rights license, meaning you can legally use them on your albums, mixtapes, streaming, all that good stuff that we talked about. So that's literally everything you're getting, guys. $4,531 of value, which is made up of the Unlocked Artist Training Package worth 97 bucks, the Unlocked Artist Resource Treasury worth 197, the Unlocked Live Sessions with me worth 800 bucks, the Unlocked Beat Bundle, which you can't get anywhere else, worth $2,430. And then you're also getting these exclusive bonuses, which is the Artist Video Playbook worth, well, let me see, $197, and of course the Unreleased Heat Beat Bundle with another 1 gigabyte of beats worth 810 bucks. So all of that, $4,531 worth of value for just 47 bucks one time. That's it. So if you want to get this thing, guys, go to innercircleprogram.com/bundle. You know, you don't have to get it, but I think it's a pretty fantastic deal. And I don't know how long I'm going to make it available, but definitely for a couple until the end of today's presentation. And what I really want to do at this point is take as much time as I need to answer any questions that you guys might have. So let's do that right now. Let's get into some question time and Q&A. And to do that, I'm going to turn on my camera again. I'm going to do about half an hour of Q&A right now, and that's also as long as you can get the bundle right there. Let me take a sip of water. All right, did you guys like the presentation today? Did you guys learn a lot? Let me know if you learned at least one new strategy that you're going to implement. Dominic says, awesome, fantastic, love that, man. Cool, let me get to some of these questions right now. I'm going to open up the Q&A. Tristan says, Adrian, I'm able to hear you, but the video is missing. So here I am. This is me turning the video back on. So I like to always turn off the video during the slides because I feel like it helps people concentrate on the slides instead of just like seeing what I'm doing, you know, picking my nose, drinking water or whatever. So there you go. Sergio says, appreciate it, brother. Very insightful. You're welcome, man. I'm glad you liked it. Jordan says, I learned a bunch of new strategies. Awesome. That's fantastic. Kayan says, what about having unlimited licensing to the beats? So Kayan, if you go to the website to innercircleprogram.com/bundle, if you do want to get unlimited rights to the beats, there's actually a little button that you can click to upgrade you. So that is definitely something that's available to artists too. I know a lot of you guys love having unlimited rights because it means you can make unlimited sales with your tracks instead of being limited to usually like 1,000 sales and 100,000 streams. But with unlimited rights, you can make as much money as you want. So some artists prefer that option. So just check that box and you can upgrade to unlimited rights too. That's available. All right, Preston says, definitely learned a lot. Seriously, thank you. My pleasure, man. Glad you enjoyed it. Timothy says, would joining a BMI workshop be the best way to understand how to use a PRO? Yeah, I mean, they always have these free workshops that you can attend that kind of teach you the basics. But I mean, hopefully you're starting to understand like how a PRO operates. And essentially what they do is they just have this network of clubs, of radio stations, TV and whatnot, who report back to them. But they're dependent on that data, right? They don't actively monitor or go out there looking for who's using what piece of music, right? Instead of just accumulating data, and then according to that data, they bill those different venues and places, and then that money gets paid out to you. That's the way that a PRO essentially works. Victor says, what's the difference between commercial rights and unlimited rights? So whenever a producer sells beats and they tell you you get a non-exclusive license or commercial rights or a lease, those are all the same terms. Essentially, they just mean that you get a non-exclusive license to use the beats. You can make money with your tracks recorded on the beats, but it's usually limited to some kind of a number, like 1,000 sales. So that means you can, for example, print 1,000 albums with your songs on the beat and sell them. Or you can, or sometimes they'll also say, you know, you're limited to a certain number of streams. And the reason producers do that is because otherwise, you know, you could have an artist that blows up and makes like $2 million from like a $27 beat lease, right? So I think it's a pretty fair situation where the producer is able to give the beat for a lower price, and in return, the artist is limited to a certain number of sales. The difference to unlimited rights is that instead of being limited to 1,000 sales, you can make as many sales as you want. There's no cap. So it's a little bit more expensive, but for that, you're able to make as much money as you want. So if you think that at some point in the future, your song might blow up, or you might make more than 1,000 sales or whatever it is, then I suggest going with the unlimited rights license. It's really just going to cover you. And oh, also, I forgot to mention this too. Anybody who upgrades to the unlimited rights with the package also gets free trackouts to every single beat. So that's, I think, like a $15,000 value or something insane like that. But anyway, you get the not only unlimited rights to use the beats, you also get trackouts for every single beat, which is great for studio mixing and mastering, making edits and stuff like that. So there you go. That's just a free bonus thrown in for you guys too. All right, any more questions? Wacky Zaki says, I'm really looking for some online training. Is there any good schools or programs that you know of? Yes, actually, my friend Wishmaster Beats. Do you guys know him? He's a Grammy-winning producer. He did that track, I'm on a Boat, by the Lonely Island. Do you guys remember that one? He's actually also a teacher, and he has a school that they're taking online right now. So I would hit him up. I'm not sure exactly how far along they are with the course, but I know they're moving their entire online school online. And he basically teaches musicians how to market themselves. He also teaches audio production and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool to check out. I'm pretty sure that all the big music schools, you know, the popular ones like the SAE and stuff, I'm sure they're going to do online classes as well. Let's see. But honestly, dude, like almost anything you would learn at a music school, you can pretty much teach yourself. I never went to music school, nor did any of the artists or musicians that I really know. But yeah. Brayden says, what software is best for starting out as an artist, for mixing and mastering your music? I mean, Pro Tools is kind of where you want to end up at. So actually, I suggest just learning Pro Tools from the get-go if you can. It's going to save you a lot of hassle. But I know a lot of artists, they start on things like Cool Edit and yeah, but just go straight to Pro Tools. If you figured that out, and there's a ton of great tutorials and stuff like that, then you'll be rocking. Of course, you can also mix on Cubase. You can mix on Logic Pro, but most studio engineers tend to gravitate towards Pro Tools. LG says, I think Gabe from the Legion does a program. Yeah, I actually have a program with Gabe that teaches producers. So if you guys are interested in learning that side of things, Gabe and I actually do webinars in this online training program where we teach producers how to monetize beats. So kind of like I'm teaching you guys how to monetize music, we also do free presentations where we teach that. So if that's something you're interested in, and specifically we talk about sales funnels. So it gets like a little like geeky and technical, but if you guys are into learning about sales funnels, then definitely check out that training too. Angelo says Cubase and Pro Tools are like Coke and Pepsi. I've never heard that analogy, but I think it's fitting. Yeah, you know what I always like to say is it's not really the bow and arrow, it's the Indian, right? It's not really like the tools, it's about like who the person is using the tools. Because I could be a super dope producer that creates hit beats on like Magic's Music Maker, and then there's some dude who's just awful and sucks, but he's on like Pro Tools or whatever. So it's really just about, you know, you as a musician or you as a producer. It's not really about like, you know, what specific tools am I using. Angela says, I'm an Indian. Nice. That's cool. Lo Gomez says, any suggestion for artists who live in locations where they can't use PayPal? Yeah, there's a lot of local payment services everywhere in the world. So I know in South America, there's like Mercado Libre has like their own payment system, for example. I can't remember what it's called. But also, I think Stripe works in South America, so you check that out. Braden says, what software is best for starting out as an artist? Oh, I already answered that one. Keep them coming, keep them coming. Galaxy S9, I guess that's anonymous attendee, says, I'm a native, but Indian is used to. Yeah, I think Native American is the correct terminology. So, yeah, what I was trying to say was it's not the bow and arrow, it's the Native American. Is that more PC? Joaquin says, when are you coming to Belize? Dude, whenever this crazy lockdown ends. I think they just extended it in California until August. So I'm going to be sitting in this room right here, just making stuff happen for you guys, I guess. Jarno says, Adrian, how about UPC codes for releasing albums? Is there any way in getting those for free? That's a good question. I'm not sure about the answer, to be honest. I do think that some distributors include the price of the UPC in the distribution. I want to say maybe DistroKid, but I'm not 100% certain. I know for sure on CD Baby, which I use, you have to pay separately. I think it's like $20 to get a UPC. Yeah, I don't know, but I'll research that one. Braden says he's going to head out. See you later, dude. Nice to have you here. And also, I just want to give a really quick shout out to everybody that invested into themselves and got the unlocked artist bundle so far. Yeah, you guys, you know, hopefully you like the offer, and I'm sure you're gonna really love everything that's included. I think I tried really hard to put this together in a way that's just really gonna crush it for you guys and hopefully give you a ton of value. And that's what it's all about, right? Uplifting the entire community of artists and building bridges and helping you guys. Joe says, this was great, AD, awesome job. Thanks, brother. Appreciate that. Repost by SoundCloud, is it any good? Yes, maybe, I guess is the answer. It depends on who's reposting, because I know some of these repost networks, they charge a lot of money, and it's only worth it, remember, if they have your dream customer, if they have your target audience. So if it's, for example, a network that just posts any kind of hip-hop music, then that's way too broad. But if it's like a network that's very specific to the kind of people that you're trying to reach out to, then it might be worth it, especially if they have a big following. Jeff says, I don't know if you answered my question, but can you join more than one PRO? No, you can't. You have to pick one. The only thing that you can do is you can have a different PRO for publishing as as compared to being a songwriter. So you can be a publisher in one place and a songwriter in another place, but that just gets kind of messy. I think it's easier to keep everything in one place. So I definitely recommend that. What you can also do is set up a PRO in specific countries to have them only collect money for you in that country. So for example, if I wanted to, I could have the PRS just collect money for me in the UK, because I feel like, that money is going to get dispersed to them faster if I have a ton of music being played in the UK. And then basically I would have BMI for everything else in the world except for the UK. But again, that's just kind of like a needless hassle, to be honest with you, unless there's like a specific country where for some reason you have a huge fan base and you're making loads of money. Joaquin says 4 live sessions included in the bundle. That's correct. Yeah, so we're going to have 4 of these kind of interactive sessions where you just get to come prepared with any questions you want, and I'm going to take as much time as I need to answer those questions for you. And yeah, we'll get you on the video too if you want to chat. Justice, thank you very much. You're welcome. Garan says, how do you go about collaborating with big name artists like Vinny Paz? Honestly, the way that I started working with him was, this is like back in the days of MySpace, where it was pretty easy to literally just hit up an artist and they would actually hit you back. So I guess in a way, that's kind of the equivalent of today, like sliding into someone's DM box. And I've still heard of artists and producers like hitting up big name artists and getting replies and actually building a relationship. So there's no reason not to try it. But yeah, back then, the number one way that I built relationships was always giving value. I always strongly believe in giving value. I mean, that's why I'm giving you guys so much value too, because I practice what I preach. But for Vinny, I literally just gave him loads of free beats. I just said like, hey man, I'm a huge fan. You're a big inspiration to me growing up. And I've been a producer for X amount of years. I've worked with these artists. I think we could create something great together. Here's 5 of my dopest beats for free. And that's how I started building a relationship. So never go into a relationship asking for something, whether it's a partner, somebody you want to collaborate with, or a customer. Never ask them for something up front. Always provide value first, and then you can reel them in. And again, guys, I gave you guys tons of value, right? I did this entire free presentation, and then I gave you tons of value with the offer. And then those of you guys who want to get the offer and buy it, that's sort of in a way what I'm getting in return, right? Always give loads of value up front, and then it's going to pay you back eventually. Does that make sense? And it's a win-win because everybody's happy. That's what I love about this kind of a thing, because everybody gets more than they bargained for, and they're super happy. Jarno says, I have unreleased music with beats made by me and by artists in Anno Domini. Would you recommend I release those tracks for free? Because I got those beats for free back in 2016 as commercial leases when I was an artist. Check the license if you still got it. Yeah, so sometimes we give out beats but then we'll specifically say it's for nonprofit use only, which means they would be perfect for free tracks that you give out, or for example, entice people to join your email list with, right? But having said that, if it came with a license, then usually that would be a commercial usage license specifically, which means you can actually make money with those tracks too. And we definitely give out a lot of beats for free with commercial use as well. For example, for joining our email list, actually. Again, I'm showing you guys everything that I'm teaching you is what's working for me. So I'm not just like making this stuff up. So yeah, there you go. Robert says, is this going to be available tomorrow? I need to go to the bank. Yeah, so, I mean, officially I was going to only have this crazy deal available during the webinar, but I think, as long as you hit me up on email or something like that, I think I can still make it available to anybody who wants to get it tomorrow or in a day or something like that. So listen, I get it, guys. Like if you need to move money around or something like that, or whatever the case may be, just shoot me an email if you want, info@annodominination.com, or just hit me back on social, and I'll still make it available to you guys. And I'll try to keep this link up for a little while. But I just don't want everyone to get access to all of this stuff for this cheap. Does that make sense? I just kind of want to reward you guys for kind of going all in and showing up live, because I really appreciate that. Cool. That being said, since I'm typing stuff into the chat room, let me type in the website real quick too. It is www.innercircleprogram.com/bundle. And if you click on that link, or you type it into your browser, that is going to take you to the page where essentially you can get this offer. Yeah, and just to remind you guys, I mean, there's a ton in there. There's the artist training package, which includes like a wrap up of everything we discussed today, and the worksheets and the expanded grant funding sheet. You're also getting the artist resource treasury, which is a whole host of awesome ebooks. You're getting the live sessions with me, 4 of those, that we're gonna be rolling out pretty soon. So I'm gonna keep you guys updated on the exact dates. And you're also obviously getting the beat bundle, which is probably the thing that a lot of you are going to be the most excited about. They've never been in any other beat bundles before. They're all new beats from this year. And you're also getting, remember, the unreleased heat, which is beats that will be released by us in the future. But right now, you can't even get them on our website. So some really cool stuff in there. And then, of course, the video playbook is an extra bonus as well. Cool. Someone says, I need your help after this. I made a mistake in my order. No worries. Again, just send me an email, info@annodomination.com. I'm going to try to get to those after this webinar and help you out. Joaquin says, damn, $47 is nothing compared to the value. All right, love to hear that, man. Rashawn says, I just got it. Congratulations, Rashawn. Way to go, man. And of course, you're very welcome for all the answering the emails and stuff like that, like you just said. Mike just ordered as well. Congratulations, Mike. Shout out to you. And Joseph says, Adrian, thanks for everything today. You're very welcome, man. I'm glad to hear that I'm an inspiration to you. That really means a lot to me, bro. So hopefully, hopefully sometime soon you're going to be an inspiration to me, because I really want to see you guys succeed and really crush it. Joshua says he's in the process of getting it, and Victor just got it. Congratulations to both of you guys. I know you're going to love it. Victor says, thank you for the lessons. You're very welcome, dude. Very, very welcome. Killer Swift is asking me, do you have any advice on AdSense? So AdSense is Google's ad program. It's kind of like YouTube monetization, where you have little ads shown and you get paid money when people click on them. And AdSense is basically you put a banner on your blog or your website, and then you get paid if somebody clicks on it. So obviously, it's only really worth it if you have a website or a platform where you're getting a lot of traffic. Because again, it's not that huge, like how much you get paid out with it. So it's definitely something you can try out and add into your revenue strategy, but don't expect it to be a huge moneymaker or anything like that. Kashanti says, I appreciate everything that you shared. Unfortunately, I won't be able to purchase this until Friday. Is there any chance that you can make it available until Friday? Yeah, Kashanti. So just do this, okay, for me. Send me an email, info@annodomination.com. Just let me know you are here live with me, and then I'll do my best to keep this running for you as well. Sound good? Awesome. Anonymous attendee says, I want to get the unlimited, but unfortunately due to COVID, damage to my business, it dips into the emergency diaper and formula fund. Can we purchase the unlimited rights at a later time? Sure, man. No, I understand. I totally get you, and that makes sense. So yes, if you want to upgrade later on, there is actually a link available to everyone in the sort of download area once you buy the thing. And originally, I was only going to make the upgrade links available for a couple of days, but yeah, let's just do this. Like I'll keep it available for a reasonable time frame. And if you want to still get the unlimited rights sometime soon, then you should be good. But if it's been closed down, just shoot me an email, info@annodomination.com, okay? All right. Dominic just ordered. Congratulations, bro. He's just waiting for it to download. Yeah, if a lot of people are downloading right now, of course, it's going to take a little bit of time. So just be patient with that. Or, maybe just come back tomorrow, because none of the download links are going to expire. Okay, so you have literally access for however long you need. Joshua says, I want to upgrade at a later time. Yeah, same thing, man. If you want to do that, I think that's okay. Let me see. I'm going through a couple of these Q&As here. By the way, if I missed your question for whatever reason, just feel free to ask it again. I'm trying to scroll through everything right now. Robert says, man, this is going to be available tomorrow. Yeah, again, like I said, just shoot me a quick message, and I'll do my best to keep the link open for you guys. Anonymous attendee says, I'm old school with my music. How do you transition into a modern sound? Well, first of all, again, figure out your branding. Okay, is that really how you want to brand yourself? Like, is that going to be the new you? Is that going to be who you represent? Is that the message you want to put out? And then figure out, identify your audience, figure out where they're spending time, and then you're going to tap really into like, what are they listening to? What are their likes? What are their dislikes? And that's going to manifest itself and trickle down to your music as well. And that's how you sort of establish the more modern sound. I guess the most practical advice I can give you is literally just listen to modern music. Like, listen to the kind of music you want to put out, and then just experiment and go from there. Tristan says, is it possible to get most of the beats without hooks? I mean, I think there's only a handful of beats that have hooks in them, but the ones that do, I think they only come with hooks. But if there's a specific one, feel free to just shoot me an email. I'll see if I can send it to you without a hook, potentially. Joshua says, did you get my question? It was kind of long. No, I must have missed that one. Can you send it again? Tony Love says, I just want to say, man, your beats are awesome and your knowledge is respected. Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. That means a lot. Thank you, Tony. Dominic is asking, before releasing my music on Apple and Spotify, should I register myself on ASCAP? And then what's next? Yes, absolutely. If you're not a member of a PRO, I highly suggest that you do that right away. And then they're going to be collecting royalties from those sources for you. But of course, you're not going to get paid any royalties if you're not signed up to a royalty society that collects them for you, right? So step by step, literally all you have to do is sign up for ASCAP, sign up for BMI. When you release a piece of content, usually your distributor is going to ask you, like, what is your royalty information? And you just type in like your member ID number, which PRO you're with and stuff like that. And then the process is pretty automated from there. But some PROs, you can also manually go into their system and just literally type in like whenever there's been usage of your music, and you can submit it to them manually like that too. And Dominique also says, is there a need to copyright music? No, there's no need to copyright your music. As long as you can prove you created it, you're forever going to be fine, and you don't need to copyright your music. Angela says, thank you, homie. It was an honor gaining this knowledge. It was an honor having you here, man. Thank you for saying you've been a fan for 10 plus years. That's amazing, man. You've been there since the early days. Wow, that's awesome. Galaxy S9, I think, says, has someone bought a bundle twice on accident, or am I the first one ever? It's definitely happened before, so don't worry. It's rare, but it happens. It's usually when people like double click the buy button or like refresh the page or something. But don't worry, I got you. I'll fix that as soon as we end this. Victor says he's having trouble downloading. So Victor, make sure you read the instructions and go into the folders and only download one file at a time. Because if you try to multi-select all of them and download as a bundle, it's going to try to zip everything together, and it's just way too much content. So that could be the issue. Other than that, maybe it's your download speed. So maybe instead of using Wi-Fi, plug in directly into your modem to speed things up. So maybe that will help. Or just come back tomorrow when less people are downloading. That's also going to be a little hack right there. All right, let me see. Jono says, if you own a label like me and you have multiple artists, would I just need one account or separate ones for each artist? Do you mean like at a PRO? Let me know real quick what you mean. I'm not quite sure if I understand the question. Oh, okay, about the beat bundle, right? Yeah, so you can definitely buy the bundle and share it with other artists, but here's the caveat. Every beat can only be used one time. So you can't have, for example, 10 artists all rapping and recording music and monetizing their content on the same beat. Does that make sense? So essentially, if you're a label and you're having other artists spit on the beats, you're relinquishing your right to that one specific beat. Cool? Awesome. Let me see here. Yalitza says, I'm probably looking at your ClickFunnels strategies. What's the greatest way to raise awareness? What do you say it differs to each artist's brand, or is there like a blanket solution for all artists? I think there's definitely some strategies that are useful to every artist. And a lot of those will come through working through the worksheets that I'm going to give you guys, obviously, in the artist bundle. So I think that's going to make things a lot clearer and crystallize them for you. But yes, of course, it's going to differ a little bit according to your branding, according to your audience, according to your genre. So yeah, once you really understand those things, I think it's going to help you as well in really nailing your strategy. Timothy says, what mic would you prescribe for an artist with a large diaphragm? I mean, I'm not really a studio engineer, so I don't want to pretend like I have the best advice on studio mics. I don't really record music, so I think probably your fellow artists or a studio engineer would be the best person to ask that specific question to. I know a little bit about mics and stuff like that, but not a huge amount, so I don't want to pretend like I'm an expert. Let me see a couple more Q&As coming through here. Justin says it just took $74 instead of $47 when I bought the bundle. So Justin, remember the prices are in US dollars. So if you happen to be in Canada, then I don't know what the exchange rate is, but maybe that's why you're seeing like a different dollar amount. It could be. Justin says, I just lined up some cash, bought this amazing package. Congratulations, bro. Hopefully you're laughing because it's just incredibly valuable, which it is. So there you go, guys. Oh, and one more time, since I'm getting a lot of people asking me about this, remember, if you do want to get this package, but you need an extra day or two or until the end of the week, whatever it is, whenever your paycheck is or whatever it is, just shoot me an email at info@annodominynation.com. Let me know that you are here hanging out with me live and that I gave you the go-ahead, and then we can make that happen for you. Justin says, heaps of helpful hints. Glad to hear that. So we got just 2 more minutes, guys, so maybe we'll do like 2 more questions if you have any more for me. Make it a good one. And then we'll wrap things up. Justin says, thanks for the information, putting these to use right away. Awesome, man. Way to go all in. Way to go all in. Actually, I want to see as many of you guys as possible executing on what you learned, okay? Because it's one thing to just sit here and absorb this information. That's cool. That's great. But then it's a whole other thing to actually execute and put it into the world, put it into action. And that's going to be the next step for you guys watching this, okay? Now that you have the information, it's on you guys, and I'm counting on you, okay? I want you guys to succeed. I really do. But you need to execute, and you need to put the work in and actually do it. Sound good? All right. For video games, would you say you have to change something, or is everything meant to be put out for food and taken advantage of? I don't really get the question. Yeah, I don't really get that one. Maybe you can clarify that one a bit better. Dominic says, outstanding, Adrian. Thank you. You're very welcome, dude. Thank you for hanging out with me. Actually, thank you to all of you guys for spending this time. I really appreciate you. Okay. All right. Well, I think we are at the end of the session. I'm not seeing any more questions, so we're going to wrap things up. One final call to action, guys. If you do want to get this bundle, just go ahead and screenshot this link or write it down somewhere. It's innercircleprogram.com/bundle. I'm going to do my best to keep it available to you guys specifically for a couple more days, but just shoot me a quick email and let me know. And really, guys, you know, I appreciate your time. Congratulations to everyone for investing into themselves and getting the bundle. I'm super excited to obviously continue our teaching environment and doing those live sessions and all that fun stuff. And I can't wait to obviously hear your killer tracks on those beats as well. So that's all from me for tonight, folks. Really appreciate you hanging out. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay creative. And yeah, can't wait to witness your success. And let's crush it together, guys. Appreciate you all. All right, take care.